This is that giant Bond thing we've been building up. I'm not a huge fan of the setup because it puts like Quantum of Solace like right in the front, like it means something. But but we got Skyfall in the front too, so yes, my thoughts exactly actually. But honestly, I don't think it's the worst one. But we can talk about that later if you want. What I really wanted to start with, obviously, as you probably see in the title, we're going to do like some top 5 lists for individual categories and all that. But before we go into that, I kind of just wanted to do general thoughts on the series, just as a whole. Did you want me to start with that?
Yeah, what are your general thoughts on the series?
Well, what I really like about this series is how there's just so much you can do with it in regards to, like, not just you can change the characters just on a whim if you want to. Sometimes that sucks, but sometimes it can be great too.
It's different from like a comic book movie where there's expectations on how characters should be, especially now because Bond's books are so old. I don't know anybody personally that's ever read a Bond book, and I'm in my 30s, so it gives you more leeway than it does with like any other series or movie based on a book.
You have a couple of untouched ones over there, don't you?
Yeah, I have a couple that were never made into movies or anything like that. And even they were written later. They're not Ian Fleming's original work, so even the books have taken liberties now.
What I also really like is, and you notice this when you, like, usually when I watch Bond movies, I'm usually watching multiple ones. Like, it just kind of turns itself into a marathon. There are a couple that you can watch just by themselves, and they work great that way, but, like you watch the first 4, like Dr. No, From Russia with Love, Goldfinger, and Thunderball, and it's like, in Dr. No, we're in Jamaica, and From Russia with Love, obviously. But then we end up at, like, Fort Knox, and then we're on a submarine. It's like we're just a series where we just end up everywhere, and there's like for a while there's no monotony. If you watch so many in a row, there will be some monotony, but for the most part, that's another way where a lot of them might be better if you don't marathon them. Like they might stand out a little more because they can get a little redundant at times. And just the way it feels episodic. Like, what I love about, I mean, not to say it's bad that the Craig movies do this, but what I actually prefer with the older series that I don't with the Craig movies is that the Craig movies are like a storyline.
They're trying to tell a continuous story.
Yeah, and I really like the episodic nature. And it's like, and sometimes they even abandon that idea, like how they build up the beginning of Diamonds Are Forever when he's like, you know, desperately looking for Blofeld. It's like, we assume it's because he just killed Tracy in Her Majesty's Secret Service, but they never mention that in Diamonds Are Forever.
It's not brought back up to For Your Eyes Only.
So when he, you know, is looking for Blofeld, if they want to completely throw away on Her Majesty's Secret Service, he could have just been looking for Blofeld, just been really desperate about it. I mean, really desperate as, you know, to pull off a woman's bikini top and choke her with it in the span of like a fraction of a second, but...
and step on a cap to figure out which one's which, but that's later in the movie. Spoilers, he doesn't get Blofeld right off the bat.
So, like, one of the things I wanted to point out as far as, like, individual movies, like Dr. No. Whenever I watch Dr. No, it's always interesting to me because, like, if you watch other spy movies from the 60s, that's basically what Dr. No is. Are you surprised? Dr. No just comes off as any old 60s spy movie, so it's really weird that it's the jumping off point for all of this. But then, you know, obviously you have the 1-2 punch of From Russia with Love and Goldfinger right after, and you're like, oh, okay, that's why. That's how we got this. And I think mainly it was, I mean, Dr. No's, like, really good, but it's gotta be, you know, Connery's charm went a really long way with saying, like, I can't just imagine it was, oh, we want to see more in this series. It was, oh, I'd like to see Connery play this character again. And then we got From Russia with Love and Goldfinger, and then it just fucking took off. So there's also Diamonds Are Forever, which kind of brings us to, was that our first case? One thing in this series that I have a love-hate relationship with, and that's the repeating actors in different roles. Like how Charles Gray is Blofeld in Diamonds Are Forever, but he was also Henderson in You Only Live Twice, who was just some random informant that gets knifed in the back.
One scene.
Yeah. And it's like, but and like, obviously, Joe Don Baker, where it's like, Jack Wade shows up in Goldeneye, and it's like, weren't you an arms dealer I killed 2 movies ago? Maud Adams, Walter Hotel, who was Morzeni in From Russia with Love, then became General Gogol, a repeating character throughout the movie. And it's like, that drives me crazy a little bit, but another part of me kind of likes it because it's almost like, it's like they're all part of a club or something. You know?
It's kind of like the British Club with Harry Potter movies.
Yeah. And then there is stuff like, what I like to point out is there's the progression of when we started off serious and then when we got silly, which kind of happened on and off a lot. Mm-hmm. So the thing was that a lot of people like to give Roger Moore shit for being the start of the silliness. Mm-hmm. But it's like, I think we forget that just before Moore started, we had Diamonds Are Forever.
Yeah.
And one critic said something to me that, actually, not to me, but said something that makes sense to me, which is that Diamonds Are Forever comes off much less like a Bond movie and more like a comic book movie. Mm-hmm. It's because of how insane it gets. And yeah, there are some kind of silly things in there, and that's also where, like, you could say, like, the girls that would show up, the Bond girls, or the ones that were just, like, really, really slightly in there. Like, they served less of a purpose the more the movies went. Mm-hmm.
Like, it's been a while since I've seen Dr. No, but if I remember correctly, Ursula Andress isn't in it very much.
She comes in way late.
Yeah.
Like, shortly before they get to Dr. No's lair is when they
That's what I was thinking. I haven't seen it in a while.
And she's so innocent about it. Like, he's doing all this shit's going down, mm-hmm. and then it's like, oh, there's somebody, and she thinks he's just after her seashells. She's like, don't touch my seashells. But the thing here
leave
also...
my shit alone.
But talking about how worthless the women got was like, I am racking my brain to figure out the importance of Plenty O'Toole in Diamonds Are Forever.
Get thrown in a pool.
Yeah, which is, by the way...
And also for the line.
Which, by the way, is very morbid because Lana Wood, who plays Plenty O'Toole, is Natalie Wood's sister. Oh. And she spends most of the movie in water or drowning. So, oh. This was 10 years prior to her death, too, so it's even weirder.
Who a suspect was Robert Wagner, who's a parody. Yeah, thank you.
But then there's also stuff like, there's an elephant that plays a slot machine in Diamonds Are Forever. It's like, we want to point the finger at Moore for making the series silly. And then, I mean, the chase in Diamonds Are Forever is really good, though. It's really long.
The car chase?
Yeah, the chases got really long in this series. Mm-hmm. Craig's movies especially went overboard with that. Mm-hmm. But, yes. And then, obviously, there's, like, the whole... We were transitioning to the 70s, and it was very obvious. Just like when we're transitioning to the 80s, it becomes very obvious. It's like, I love...
View to a Kill is dripped in 80s.
Like, I was talking about the blaxploitation angle that Live and Let Die takes, but we kind of went before that in Diamonds Are Forever by Sid Haig being in Diamonds Are Forever, who was in, like, a lot of the Pam Grier movies. Mm-hmm. He's the guy in the back of the car that says, I had a brother.
He should have been in Live and Let Die.
Yeah, like, they should have waited one more movie.
Yeah.
He could have been, like, fucking Teehee or something.
He could have been Whisper.
His voice is too recognizable.
True.
I can't. After Captain Spaulding, I can't imagine him speaking in a low voice.
Especially since this one, I had a brother.
And we've talked about, like, we both don't care much for Thunderball.
Yeah.
But then I was telling you, back in '65, Thunderball must have had so many expectations.
Well, not only that, but, like, Thunderball has some cool stuff about it. Like, the underwater scuba fight, there haven't been anything done like that in movies up to that point. People's heads probably exploded wondering how that went down.
In the jetpack, too. But when you think about it, also, it's like... So, we have Thunderball, and it kind of seems underwhelming when you watch it by itself, but then it's even worse off when you think of the audiences back then, and it's like, okay, we just got off from Russia with Love and Goldfinger back to back. It's like, what are they going to do next? And then it's like, well, we know number one is the Shrouded in Mystery guy, who obviously we know is Blofeld, but they didn't know that. Mm-hmm. But then number 3 is Rosa Klebb, so it's like, we learn that number 2 is going to be the villain in Thunderball. It's like, who the fuck is number 2? This is going to be awesome. And Largo's not all that memorable of a villain.
I was also thinking, Thunderball's expectations with coming after the first 3... I feel like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like it's as if the Marvel Cinematic Universe changed the order they released things, and the order they went with was Avengers 1, Avengers 2, Thor: The Dark World.
Potentially something like that. And that's also like, because there's a lot of problems with Thunderball. It's like I was telling you, there's way too many characters in it.
And too many that look alike.
Yeah, like Fiona and Domino. Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm so glad you said that when we were on the phone, because I was like, is it bad I can't I can't remember which one's which.
I'm not gonna lie. When I was rewatching it, I would get on my phone, like the parts that were kind of dulling me, and I would look up and I would be like, okay, which girl is this? Who's we dealing with?
And I love that there's so many characters in Thunderball that are worthless. Actually, after she kills Largo, and there's that dude there with her that was helping her, and Bond's like, who's that? And she's like, I don't know, he just helped. It's like, the movie doesn't even know who all the characters are.
It only would have been better if somehow 30 years before it came out, Bond pulled the David Spade and went, well, he seems like a nice guy.
But then, talking about that transition to the 70s, too, that's kind of, like I said, where it makes Diamonds Are Forever seem really dated. I think it actually is a strong point for Live and Let Die.
Live and Let Die belongs in the 70s. Live and Let Die to the 70s, to me, is like If You Do a Kill in the 80s.
Even though it has a couple of my favorite lines in Bond history, not because they're good lines, but because of how much they stick out in the Bond universe. Mm-hmm. Like, the guy's driving him around, and he's like, will you take me here for $20? And he's like, for $20, I'll take you to a KKK cookout. And then my favorite one, hearing Felix Leiter say, somebody get a make on a white Pitmobile. After a whisper kills his driver.
Plus, Live and Let Die dabbles in the supernatural a little bit.
Yeah, which actually might as well be commonplace after a while. I mean, Moonraker was only a few movies later. Mm-hmm. Speaking of Moonraker, I did want to bring up something else I was looking at. We're going to jump way ahead into the future here. What do you think of Die Another Day these days? Because I saw something that Roger Moore said about Die Another Day.
I think Brosnan deserved better movies.
Especially a good last one.
Yeah.
But the thing here was, did you see what Roger Moore said about Die Another Day?
No.
But he was talking about, like...
R.I.P. Roger Moore.
Yeah. He was criticizing just some of the stupid things in the movie, and he got to, like, the invisible car. And he's like, I mean, this is coming from me, the first Bond in space, and I'm saying this is ridiculous. Honestly, there were a couple of things in Die Another Day I still think are fine. I think a prime Bond scene is the fencing in Die Another Day. That's like a total Bond moment, I think.
Yeah.
And I think Zhao's a cool henchman, too.
Yeah. Despite the invisible car, as ridiculous as it is, the car chase is fun. Yeah.
And it's one of those cases. I remember us talking about this way back when it came out, a billion years ago. How it's like, it's not a good Bond movie, but by itself, it's like, I'd watch this on the Sci-Fi Channel once or twice. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, it sucks that it's a Bond movie, but, you know. So, yeah, I think that's about as far as I go as far as general thoughts. Obviously, I'm not crazy about the Craigs. I know I'm like one of the only people in the world. I made this comment to Ashley when I talked about this on one of our Oscar videos where I teased it by saying, I think the Peter Sellers Casino Royale is better than Craig's. That was a bit of hyperbole, of course, but I'm just not that fond of Craig's Bond, but we'll get there when we rank the actors.
That's funny that you mentioned the Craigs, because I was pulling an example out of the different series where, like, Thunderball underwhelmed in expectations. I think this guy goes there, too. We'll talk about him.
Careful.
We'll talk about Spectre.
Alright, so, do you have anything else in regards to... Did I ask that already? Do you have anything else in regards to general thoughts?
You watch a lot more movies than I do. You're kind of a film connoisseur. How important do you think the Bond films are to film history? Like, how much of a role do you think they play?
Well, obviously, when it comes to spy movies, which was significantly popular in, like, the 60s, like, when it started.
Like, when Get Smart, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. was around and stuff like that.
It's kind of like, it basically, even spy movies today, the ones that even aren't Bond movies, are always going to be compared to Bond movies. And some of them have really set action standards as well. Or like some way, like the way like when you think of villain cliches, like that, like, you know, the unnecessarily slow moving dipping mechanism, stuff like that. It's like you never just say it's a cliche villain. Usually the thing is it's a cliche Bond villain. Like Bond created the cliche villain.
Oh, you mean like in Dogma when Jason Lee's like, no, I've seen way too many James Bond movies to know that you don't reveal the full details of your plan until after.
You almost got that entire line.
Just about. Not bad for not having seen Dogma for a while.
So, and yeah, obviously, just, you know, Bond's name is synonymous with so many things.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, mainly just in this spy genre, which unfortunately isn't as popular as it used to be, and the ones that do come out aren't.
I think the only ones that really come close to, like, the standard that Bond set, even though it doesn't have gadgets, is the Bourne series.
Yeah. And there's also, people really like The Man from U.N.C.L.E., the movie with Armie Hammer and Henry Cavill. Like, there's so many people saying Henry Cavill should be Bond after that movie.
He looks the part, but yeah. I'm now going to see Henry Cavill as just Superman.
And I don't... Well,
don't hate me, Internet. I like Henry Cavill's Superman.
We'll see how he does in Mission Impossible 6.
That could be fun.
So,
but would you watch a movie, like, I know you don't like Daniel Craig's Bond, but would you watch a movie where Daniel Craig's Bond had a crossover with Jason Bourne?
It'd be much more fitting than any other Bond, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. That's why I picked him.
Yeah.
I think that'd be fun. Imagine if Jason Bourne felt this vendetta to take Bond out.
Good Lord.
Like, how fun would that be?
It'd be a bloodbath.
Hollywood, go make this! I'll watch this.
It'd be a bloodbath and everybody in the world but them would die.
I know, it'd be so
It'd just be a world of corpses around them. And they just give up and go home.
Yeah.
So, are we ready to rank the Bond actors?
I think... Oh, we're starting with actors, okay. The one I didn't write down.
Okay, there are 6, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Seven? No.
Are we just... Since we're ranking, do you just want me to go and then you go, or do you want to alternate?
No, you go, then I'll go.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. And yes, Lazenby is included. I'm very sorry. But hear me out, please. Even if you hear me out, you're going to still be pissed off, but I'm sorry. My least favorite Bond is Craig. He always has been. And the problem...
For those of you still with us in the video, continue.
Well, here's the thing, is that... okay, first off, just right off. Obviously, except for Road to Perdition and Logan Lucky, and to an extent Tintin, I don't really care for Craig as an actor to start off with.
What about Girl with the Dragon Tattoo?
I think, yeah. But I think he's just way too... The more fucking exceptions there's going to be, the more stupid I'm going to look. So, but the thing here is that...
I'm just going to sit here and tear down your Daniel Craig argument.
He's just a charisma black hole. There is really... He's just complete... Okay, here's the thing really sets me off is...
I just noticed you said that on the backs of all these cases he's making the same face.
Yeah. And the thing is that...
I've seen 3 distinct Roger Moore faces just over here.
We'll start off. One emotion he seems to do consistently is arrogance. And yeah, yes, there is obviously an arrogance to Bond, but in all the other Bonds, it's like a charming arrogance, like especially Connery's. Mm-hmm. When you look at him, especially in Casino Royale...
I think you could put Brosnan in that category, too.
Yeah, Brosnan's super charming, though, at least in GoldenEye. Mm-hmm. But the thing here is that with Craig, it's not a charming arrogance. It's I want to punch this guy in the dick kind of arrogance. And I even wrote that down. Want to punch in dick.
Well... And the sheaf made your dreams come true.
And the thing here also is that I think it's also not just Craig's performance, but the movies themselves kind of have this pompous attitude towards the rest of the series. One thing that I love Skyfall, but the one line I hate in Skyfall is when Q is giving him his new gadgets, and he says, "What, were you expecting an exploding pen?" And it's like that. First off, if you're going to call out any movie for its ridiculousness, GoldenEye? There are so many jokes you could have made. Look at all the stupid shit in this stuff. And you go after GoldenEye, the exploding pen in GoldenEye, which, by the way, is not... I mean, that just rubs me the wrong way. And it's the whole... Like I said, there's this constant thing of wanting to make Bond super serious again. Because after, Diamonds Are Forever got out of control, they tried that with Dalton. And then Dalton went through, and then Brosnan started to get a little crazy, so they're like, okay, let's do the Craig thing. And I feel like they went a little overboard in the super serious kind of thing. And it would have worked better if we had an actor that had a few more personality traits.
Do you think that them taking Bond serious and darker had anything to do with the success of Batman Begins?
Well, that was the year after, so probably. So, I don't remember how long Casino Royale was in production, though. I feel like we heard about it for a long-ass time.
Well, it was only 4 years between that and Die Another Day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there were 6 years between License to Kill and GoldenEye.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my feelings on Craig. Who's your last place?
My last place is Lazenby, and it's nothing personal. It's just too small of a sample size.
Yeah. I heard that he didn't like how he was treated. Like, I guess, like, he had ideas he wanted to do, and he wanted to do certain things, and
you want to look into that. There's a documentary on Hulu called Becoming Bond that's about George Lazenby and becoming Bond. It's very interesting. I highly recommend it.
So did they basically just, like...
Yeah, because most of the documentary, they interview him, and he looks back on it, and he talks about how he had all these ideas and how they shot it down, and...
He was just a doormat, basically.
Yeah, he was just there to fill Connery's shoes. That's why he didn't come back for a second one. So they had to scramble to get Connery. But yeah, if you ever get a chance to check it out, it's very interesting. And they do like a there's like an acting alongside it. So like Lazenby's it's like when you watch something on Investigation Discovery and there's actors that reenact it, except the actors are decent. There's good actors in it. I don't remember off the top of my head who, but there is some. But yeah, it was really good. It was very informative, and it gave me a better appreciation for George Lazenby, to where like it used to be in the past I would put him last and not think anything of it, and now I put him last and I feel like I'm doing him a disservice by doing that, but the sample size is just too small.
That's a perfect transition because my next level one is Lazenby, so we can just keep talking about this.
Okay.
The thing about On Her Majesty's Secret Service is that he's a very likable Bond.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he does, it doesn't really...
He's very charming.
Yeah, he doesn't, like, stick out to me in a bad way, even being between Connery.
This didn't happen to the other guy.
Yeah, it's like its opening line, too.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, also, is that this is a different kind of Bond we're seeing, because we get to see... The other movies tried this and pretty much failed, but this is the movie where Bond, like, legitimately falls in love.
On Her Majesty's Secret Service is very different from all the other ones.
Because it's like, in the case of the other movies... And you say, like how they made... This is another reason I don't like Craig's, is they made him, like... He gets heartbroken, like, every damn movie. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, Vesper was my love, and then, by the time we get to Lea Seydoux and Spectre, I just don't give a fuck anymore. I'm just rolling my eyes too much. But, the thing about Lazenby is that the reason On Her Majesty's Secret Service works like that is... First off, like Vesper and Casino Royale, we don't meet till like an hour into the movie. Or like you said with Honey Rider, like towards the end of Dr. No. Mm-hmm. We meet Tracy immediately. Yeah, and the first thing he does is save her life from a very emotionally horrible direction. Mm-hmm. And we build... The love story is the start of it and is continuous throughout. And is like this whole kind of driving thing throughout the movie. It's a part of it. It's not just something thrown in. Mm-hmm. And Lazenby playing the part like that, like half being Bond while half being a legit romantic lead, works. Yeah. So it's a shame he has to be down so low, because like you said, it's just we have so little to go on in regards to what the others did, is why he's so low, but yeah.
Yeah. My number 5 would probably be... Daniel Craig. I go with you. For the same reasons, like... His movies are, well, these are, this one's okay, this one's amazing, this one I don't remember anything about, and I thought that one was pretty good. But I agree with you, there's not much personality with Craig, and I feel like a lot of what made Bond succeed over the years was his personality, and like the charm and everything, like... I don't know, like, Connery comes off with, like, this charm, Roger Moore's got, like, the sarcastic tone, Pierce Brosnan's got, like, the boyish charm, Daniel Craig, I feel like, if you don't come on to, his Bond will roofie you. Maybe that's a little extreme. But I just don't feel like he has the personality to pull it off like the others do. I think he was made to be a more intense Dalton, but where Dalton kept the charm, I just don't think Craig has it as much.
And it's almost like they were trying to make him this emotionless killing machine in the Craig movies.
But like you said, he seems to wear his heart on his sleeve when it comes to the women.
It's so backwards. Mm-hmm. Like, one minute he's one thing, one minute he's another. Mm-hmm. And it just doesn't mesh well. Yeah. So...
for me, I'll do number 4 first. My number 4 is Timothy Dalton.
He's mine too. Do you just want to make this a general discussion?
Yeah, let's just talk about Dalton. First of all, who would have thought that Timothy Dalton later in his career would be so fun?
Oh, like Hot Fuzz. And
oh, God, I love Tim Dalton in Hot Fuzz. I think he's one of the best parts of the movie.
What I think Dalton's problem is that he's a victim to the writing.
Yeah, his movies
because he feels like he's a great action hero in Living Daylights and License to Kill, but he doesn't feel like Bond.
He doesn't, but I think he was the right Bond for License to Kill. Like the vengeful Bond.
Yeah, License to Kill.
Because I can't see Roger Moore going on a vendetta. Connery maybe, Brosnan maybe, Craig probably.
Yeah, I do that too, where I try to imagine the other Bonds, and it's like the scene in Spectre. I'm sorry to keep hating on Craig, I'm sorry, but when he's playing the tape of Mr. White killing himself to Lea Seydoux, and he's like, "No, turn it off!" It's like, I'm trying to imagine Moore doing that. It just looks stupid.
But yeah, I think Dalton's the perfect Bond for License to Kill. I like Timothy Dalton in the movies. I don't know. He also has a small sample size, which isn't his fault. I think he could have done good stuff with the series. He had better writing.
Didn't I hear correctly? He didn't want to go on?
No, he didn't. And it's funny because if he hadn't have done it, Brosnan was going to do it, and who knows where we would have gone. It might have been Tim Dalton in GoldenEye, who knows. But overall, I mean, I like Dalton, but somebody has to be fourth.
Why do I feel like we're going in the same order from here on?
Who's your number 3?
Moore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, do we talk about Roger Moore now?
Let's talk about Roger Moore, rest his soul.
Well, here's the thing, is obviously we build up that his movies were kind of the silly era.
They are.
But I mean, there's so much he does right, too. The way he fits in with the tone, to where, like, the movies could have been so ridiculous they could be unwatchable.
I think if you had anybody other than Roger Moore, it could have killed the series.
Yeah, because you had to really like, if you had a Bond like Connery trying to do these movies, which once again I guess is kind of what we got with Diamonds Are Forever, but we were still in that transition phase. But yeah, like, here's the thing is, growing up when I was a kid, Moore was my favorite one, and that makes perfect sense to me in retrospect. Not to talk down to his portrayal or anything, but just like, it's like we talk about with the Batmans. It's like for each era we were in, he's perfect for the era he was in. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Moore. I mean, considering the movies he was given, it's a miracle he stuck around as long as he did. But I know when I pop in a Roger Moore Bond movie, I may not be getting the best story, but I'm going to get a Bond that's going to entertain me, and I'm going to become invested in. I'll want to see him succeed.
I'm just realizing it's actually kind of a pattern. I mean, we're kind of undermining how many decent ones he did, because, like, Live and Let Die is Live and Let Die, but then there's Man with the Golden Gun, which is pretty silly. Then The Spy Who Loved Me is, like, cinematic as fuck.
It's a very nice looking film.
Then you got Moonraker, and then For Your Eyes Only and Octopussy, but then most people, I know you love A View to a Kill, but most people think A View to a Kill is a low point for the series. So
it doesn't make my top 5. I just think it's a lot of fun because of how dripped in 80s it is.
As I say, I love your love for A View to a Kill because you're like one of the only people I know that does love it.
I have a lot of fun with A View to a Kill. I will in no way say it's one of the better films, but it's one of the ones I enjoy the most popping in just because it's insane. And it's dripped in the 80s. And Roger Moore's like 800 years old, hitting on Tanya Roberts. Like, the pure insanity of it is what brings me back, because it's so fun. And Grace Jones is just such this extreme person. Like, I just think A View to a Kill is really fun. I have a lot of fun with it when I watch it. I think the climax is fun. I think there's a lot of fun to be had with it. If you want to take it seriously as a movie, you're going to pop it out after like the first half hour. Because the opening scene's very forgettable.
When he snowboards to the Beach Boys?
Yeah,
you don't take that seriously?
No, I don't. But no, I think there's a lot of fun to be had with A View to a Kill. A View to a Kill, I feel like could almost, if you take the spy portion out of it, could almost pass for like a Stallone or Schwarzenegger movie.
Yeah, like Stallone in like the Nighthawks era.
Yeah.
The one where he was going after Rutger Hauer.
Yeah.
I think that's what that movie was called.
Yeah, because I mean, let's face it, as silly as it is, it's silly to think of Roger Moore in his 60s hanging from the top of the Golden Gate Bridge fighting off Christopher Walken. That just sounds like Schwarzenegger. Which
kind of mirrors how old Connery was kind of looking in Diamonds Are Forever, despite the fact that that was 1971, and Connery's, as far as I know, still quite healthy and living.
Yeah, but Connery also wasn't dangling from the top of the Golden Gate Bridge.
True.
Number 2, Brosnan.
Yep.
Brosnan deserves such better movies. GoldenEye's a gem. We'll definitely get to GoldenEye. But the other movies, like, Brosnan was just a victim of bad writing, and it stinks because I feel like he's a really good combination of intense and charming.
Tomorrow Never Dies was better than I remembered it being.
Tomorrow Never Dies kind of holds up on a rewatch.
But
World Is Not Enough was disappointing on a rewatch, except for one aspect, which I'll get into later.
Yeah, The World Is Not Enough is, like, really silly. Like, I had forgotten about how damn silly it is. Mm-hmm. Like, the thing is that Bond's supposed to be cool. He was, like, super cool in GoldenEye, and it's like, he kind of held it up with Tomorrow Never Dies. He had some great emotional scenes in Tomorrow Never Dies. Mm-hmm. But then you get to World Is Not Enough, and it's like, look how wacky Bond is.
I know. Like, if you take Die Another Day out of the equation, I like how Brosnan goes from, like, he'll go from, like, fun and cracking jokes and hitting on women. Dude, he has some pretty cold-blooded moments. Like in GoldenEye with Trevelyan, he just lets him go. Tomorrow Never Dies, he freaking just shoots Vincent Schiavelli point blank in the face. Electra King in The World Is Not Enough, he just freaking blows her away. Like, without even thinking twice. He has some really good cold-blooded moments.
I forget the cold-blooded moment when he tells Renard that she's dead.
Yeah.
But the thing though is World Is Not Enough also has, like, people might say, oh, it's like a Moore era thing. Oh, it's charming. When he fucking dives in the boat and while he's underwater he straightens his damn tie. Or the thing I hate, my least favorite moment.
Why do we give that a pass, but we're okay with him straightening the tie in the tank?
Because he's in a fucking tank. But the thing here, though, is that The World Is Not Enough has... Okay, here's the thing. The end of The World Is Not Enough has a lot of parody moments with the Christmas comes once a year thing. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's the dumbest line in that moment. The thing that just irks me the most in that scene is the fucking slapsticky way M realizes what's going on and says, 007! And it's like, he's not fucking Peter Sellers anymore. You know
To be fair, they did that with Moore a couple times. Yeah, Q always had a line like, I think he's attempting re-entry.
But even so, which is very disturbing coming from Q of all people. It's like, no, please don't talk that way, Q. So
act together, Boothroyd.
But yeah, like for a while, especially us growing up, like when we were growing up, Brosnan was like the original face of Bond to us because we grew up on GoldenEye. GoldenEye was like the gateway drug for us.
I wonder how many other people that was the case for, because GoldenEye was one of the most popular games ever. We just played it again last night.
Probably everybody we knew in the 90s.
Probably.
Just everybody played that damn game.
Oh yeah, when I was in college, we had GoldenEye tournaments, and I was only in college 10 years ago.
We played it last night. It's March 2018.
I know, and it holds up well. It's so fun. It's one of the most fun multiplayer games I own.
That was kind of disappointing when Jimmy Fallon tried to get Brosnan to play it on The Tonight Show, and he just wasn't into it. But it was like seeing the N64 controller in his hand, though, was enough, I think.
The meme-worthy happening.
So, is this the Connery hour now?
Connery, yeah. Connery set the standard.
Yeah, it's such a cliche to say he's the best Bond, but he's the fucking best Bond.
He is. He is. There's not really... Like, we can put him in order, but I feel like you're going Connery, more Brosnan, more Dalton. Connery's just a step above. And it's just because, like, without him, the series would be nothing.
I was talking about how the reason I think Dr. No took off, where they're like, let's make this a franchise, was his charm. When I watch, when he says the line the first time, when he says the Bond line, when he says his name, it's like, I don't think that would be the memorable quote in movie history that it is if it wasn't in Connery's voice first.
Yeah.
Like, if that started off in any other actor's voice, he would just be another character. But Connery's delivery of just saying his own name, I think basically created a franchise that's this fucking big now. It's still going.
And it's a shame that Connery looks back on Bond with, like, hatred. Because he really set the standard. He's the reason the series is where it is.
There's even a dignity when he says the puns. Like, the puns get so throughout the franchise. That's one of the things that, you know, is just a staple of it.
Yeah.
But when Connery does, like I said, there's just, even as silly as it is, there's such a dignity to it.
I also feel like Connery was the smartest Bond. Like Roger Moore, like, things just kind of fell in his lap. Same with Brosnan. Connery, there was like an air of, like, there were times that you would see him, like, piecing it together, like what was going on.
And people tend to point the finger at Craig when they see a brutality in Bond. But I mean, for movies that were made in the 60s, his Bond goes for it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like in the From Russia with Love era, the fight on the train for 1963.
Oh, we'll talk about the fight on the train.
1963, yeah.
Fight on the train. That's probably if we were ranking Bond moments, the fight on the train with Red Grant would probably be right up there at the top. Mm-hmm. It's so good. So good.
So, the next thing I'd like to go on, how are we doing on time?
We are 36 minutes in.
Alright. The next thing I would like to do is do our top 5 cold opens. The opening sequence before the opening credits.
Is that what that's called? Cold opens?
Yes, that's what's usually called for like TV shows as well.
Oh. The more you know.
So, as I was telling you, if you want to just mention some before we go into a top 5 that stick out but you couldn't quite make it on there.
I think we just go to the top 5.
Well, I do want to call out some that almost made it.
Okay,
just real quick. One, starting off with like You Only Live Twice has a really good one. Mm-hmm. Not only the whole, making us think Bond's dead thing, but the space angle of it. Mm-hmm. When the dude is outside and like the thing is coming from out of nowhere like a shark and cuts his cord. It feels like you're getting ready to watch like a space set thriller, like fucking Marooned or something.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
This came out before Alien, before space was scary.
Yeah. And then there's stuff like For Your Eyes Only, which is like this ultimate payoff we've been waiting for. But I didn't put it on here because it's like, for what's happening in the scene, to me, there's a bit too much of a silliness to it. It's one of those cases where it was the first Bond movie made in the 80s, and you can tell. Because the second the helicopter comes up, it's like 80s music, and it's like, oh, wow, this is...
For Your Eyes Only was the one that was bumped right off of my top 5. And the reason that I had it on there was because it is silly, but I do like the fact that there's continuity there. Yeah. I know we talked about how it feels fun that it's more episodic, but I feel like there are times that you have to tie things together.
But what's really funny, though, is that we had
Mr. Bond!
We had Telly Savalas and Our Majesty's Secret Service, and then we had Charles Gray and Diamonds Are Forever, which looked totally different. But then, when he's in For Your Eyes Only, he's still wearing the neck brace and has Telly Savalas' head. It's like they just completely skipped Diamonds Are Forever for this payoff.
Or he injured his neck and lost his hair in the oil rig explosion.
Yeah, because we just abandoned him after that.
Yeah.
Man, and one more I wanted to mention was The Living Daylights has a really good one.
See, that's the only one I don't own on DVD, so I didn't get a chance to revisit it. So any huge Living Daylights fans, I'm sorry, it doesn't end up on my list anywhere.
There's 2 of them. There's 2 of them out there, I guarantee.
Although, I am an Aha fan, so I do like the theme song. It didn't make my list, but I do like the theme song.
But I mean, like, it's got skydiving, there's the way they slide down the rocks, and then he, like, parachutes out of a car. But that's not even in the top 5.
It's not in your top 5?
Yes.
Alright,
so,
do you want me to start with mine?
Sure.
Because we already talked about mine. My number 5 was You Only Live Twice.
Oh.
I like the space setup. I like how there's an air of mystery of like, where the hell can this go? And I also love that Bond has been tasked with fighting international terrorists. I felt like the opening scene of You Only Live Twice was the first time that I saw world leaders look like they were in trouble.
Yeah.
Where they were like, fuck, we gotta do something. And then you turn around and you're like, oh, Bond will fix it. Oh, maybe not. Even though you know he's coming back, because if you saw a trailer, you know there's none of that in the trailer and everything else is later.
Even if you hadn't seen a trailer, do you think Bond's gonna die in the opening?
Right, but I mean, still, like...
Skyfall tried that too.
Like, the beginning of You Only Live Twice, like, if you're in the moment and you don't, like, think outside the box, like, oh, this is good, that would feel pretty hopeless. So I like it. I like the beginning of You Only Live Twice. I like the cold opening, as you called it.
And we even end on a pun. At least he died on the job. My number 5 cold open is The Man with the Golden Gun.
Oh, that's a good one.
I love the way it progresses in such an unexpected territory.
Yeah.
Because he starts off, he's just on the beach, and it's like, oh, it's Scaramanga. He's the villain. He's in his element and all that. We got Knick Knack bringing him shit. And then the guy's like, hey, I brought my money. And it's like, ooh, what kind of business deal is this? Funhouse. And this whole,
heartbreaking.
It's this really cool, creepy, weird introduction to this guy, and to show that he really loves the kind of game angle. The ultimate kind of Bond villain thing. They love playing their fucking games.
Yeah.
This is like the ultimate game. He owns a fucking fun house.
Spoiler, he didn't make my list, but I like Scaramanga.
Yeah.
It's silly, but I like it. Plus, it's fucking Christopher Lee.
And it shows kind of this awesome, you know, start to something. That the fact that he's got a Bond mannequin in it.
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool. So I always love that opening.
Which makes for a really fun ending sequence of how Bond outsmarts him.
Yeah.
That makes it fun. It's kind of silly, but it's kind of fun at the same time.
It's a great payoff.
My number 4 is the Diamonds Are Forever opening.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it the... So do you think that's him starved for vengeance from Honor Majesty's Secret Service, or are you just going to take it as an individual thing?
I just love the cold-bloodedness of it. I just love the desperation. Like, you don't see many instances of Bond being desperate, and Bond just flies off the fucking handle. Like, if it is personal, you can't tell. I mean, you can tell.
It is just 5 straight minutes of him beating the fuck out of
it. It is. Like, it's like... It's crazy. Like, and it's such a contrast, because the movie ended with Lazenby so sad. Like, the ending of Honor Majesty's Secret Service is heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is.
And Lazenby was the perfect Bond for that moment.
By the way, why the fuck did Irma Bunt just get away? That's never explained.
No, it's not.
I do love how it's like, where is Blofeld? Try this guy. Alright, beat the fuck out of this guy. Where's Blofeld? Try this guy. Beat the fuck out of this guy.
It reminds me of Sin City when Marv is trying to track down who killed Goldie. Like,
driving the car while dragging the dude's face on the car.
Connery would have done it in that opening. He would have done it. He'd have stuck people's heads in toilets.
And once again, the most impressive thing is this is aged Connery.
Yeah. And I just love the ruthlessness of the opening. I love the ruthlessness of it. And then it's like, wait, there's a fucking second one? Like, and he just kills that motherfucker too. He just killed everybody coming in.
And then Blofeld doesn't even die in that movie.
Right. I just love the ruthlessness of it. I think it's fun.
My number 4 cold open, are you done?
Yeah.
My number 4 cold open is For Russia With Love. I love Grant's intro. There's like no dialogue. It's just him stalking around and we think it's Bond. And we actually get to see this dude. The introduction to this dude is him strangling fucking Bond. Obviously we learn later it's a mask.
Yeah.
But I mean still, just the way it's like just the wordless thing of him just stalking around. Not to mention, because Dr. No just up and starts, it's our first Bond cold open ever.
Yeah, it is.
So, yes, not much else about that one. It's simple, and I love it for that.
My number 3 is Skyfall.
Nice.
I like Skyfall because it's action fucking packed. And, like, I don't... The one thing that bothered me about Skyfall is I'm going to sound so sexist when I say this. I don't like the idea of Moneypenny in the field. I think it takes her out of... And I know we talked earlier about how you could take liberties with characters, but...
Take away the fact that she's Moneypenny. Naomi Harris is awesome as like an action heroine.
Yeah, she is. She's a really good compliment to him. But I just think the Skyfall opening, like, the intenseness, like, it's kind of like You Only Live Twice, like, you think he's dead. Like, he gets sniped off of a fucking railroad track and falls in the ocean. Like,
the thing about it.
That's the fucking... Like, if you're Bond, that's how you want to fucking go.
And there's the build-up to it. You got the bikes on the roof, followed by the train thing where he, like, breaks fucking off and then jumps into it, does the stupid...
Even lands on the couch.
That was Spectre. He does the straightening out of the sleeve.
That's right, okay.
And then there's the intensity of will she or won't she shoot him? And then M's like fucking freaking out saying, just shoot his ass.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Skyfall's opening is fucking action to the extreme. I love it. I think it's a great opening. And it's only number 3.
You know what my number 3 is?
What's your number 3?
Live and Let Die. Live and Let Die's opening is awesome. It is 3 dudes. We don't know who they are until M tells us in the opening scene later. But we just think we're seeing 3 random dudes offed. Starting with the dude with the earpiece. And then my favorite thing, the funeral.
Oh.
Where it's like the creepy idea that a funeral is coming for you. And then the whole... Once they have the body, it turns into a party. And I love that they use that again later. When there's a guy standing there and we see... it's like an informant or something. He works with Bond in some way. And the funeral's coming and we're like, oh shit. and then it happens off screen. Just later we see the parade, and because we see the parade, we know it's already happened. That's really cool.
It is effective. It is effective. And I've talked about going to New Orleans before. That funeral scene makes me uneasy about going to New Orleans.
It's seriously like this horror. You see them like Angel Heart or something.
Yeah.
And then obviously the final scene where we get to see Baron Sammedy's place and the snake with the goat guy. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it just seems like we're jumping around everywhere, and everywhere we are, something crazy happens.
Yeah.
And then the snake bite and instant death goes right into the opening title sequence. I love Live and Let Die's opening.
It is pretty intense. It is pretty intense. Looking back, I probably should have put it on my list. But it was hard. There's been a lot of good cold openings. There's been a lot of bad ones, but there's been a lot of good ones.
Totally forgettable ones, too.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, both of Dalton's are really... Well, no, I just talked about Living Daylights, but License to Kills was, given how awesome that movie is.
Yeah. My number 2 is Spectre. Good fucking God, Spectre's opening sequence.
My number 2 is Spectre, too.
Oh my God. Spectre makes me so mad because there are so many... Spectre as a movie is just okay, but there are so many cool ideas and shit that goes down. I watched it, I remember talking to you about Spectre, and you were like, it's okay. I popped it in my DVD player. I watched the opening scene. I was like, how does this only land at okay? This is awesome.
Well, can I just say one thing about the opening Spectre, too? There's one thing that drives me crazy about the Craig Bonds, and finally Spectre did it.
Okay.
The fucking barrel scene.
Yeah.
They finally were like, oh yeah, I forgot this goes at the beginning. And they finally did that in Spectre. Because the other 3 don't. Some of them wait till the end. I don't think did Casino Royale even do it?
I don't remember.
But yeah, that always bothered me. But
yeah. Spectre starts off on a fucking thrill ride. When I popped in Spectre, I was getting tired. I was winding down for the day. The opening of Spectre, I was amped. It got me through the rest of the whole movie. And it just keeps going. Spectre has so much fun shit in it. It's just the fact that the movie is just okay is its biggest crime. It's not terrible, but the fact that it's just okay murders me inside. Because it started off on such an awesome foot. You had Bond in the fucking skeleton tuxedo at the Day of the Dead. He's flying around in a helicopter with crowds of people that are running from it. Usually
I don't care for this kind of thing because I think when it's done great, it's great, but lately it's really played out. But this did a really good use of the long take. That whole thing is one shot. Until, the helicopter comes into play, I think it's all one shot. When he goes outside and everything, he changes out of the Day of the Dead costume into the tux, and it's, without a cut. By the way, is that or is that not the Goldfinger tux? Or at least very close to it?
It might be. I don't know. But, yeah, the beginning of Spectre, holy fuck. It's so fun. Number 1, are we going the same direction?
I don't know, are we?
What are you going with?
My number 1 cold open is Moonraker.
Oh, mine is not.
Oh, I guess we talk about Moonraker now. What else can I say? This whole skydiving angle, Moonraker is probably my least favorite Bond movie. Because there are bad ones like Quantum of Solace, but I think being boring is worse than being bad. And Moonraker is boring. But good God, did they at least know how to start it? And not only is it this awesome whole it's a skydiving action scene. It's not a skydive down to the action scene. The skydiving is the action scene. And the way he has to fall down, take the dude's parachute, put it on himself, and then let it go. And then just when we think he's safe, fucking Jaws comes back.
I know.
Of all the places you don't expect to run into Jaws, it's mid-fucking air.
Yeah. I have a fear of falling off of tall things. It's not really a fear of heights. I don't fear the height. I fear the fall. That opening gives me anxiety. The fact of Bond falling with nothing, and he has to get the parachute. He has one shot to get it on and get it buckled. And plus, he's being pursued by a fucking giant.
For 1979, it looks so good. You'd expect that to be oh, there's green screens everywhere. But it looks so authentic.
It is. That opening gives me anxiety.
I love it.
Anxiety. But it is really good. That was your number 1?
Yes.
My number 1, it may be nostalgia. I don't know. My number 1's GoldenEye.
Nice.
I like the GoldenEye opening. It's kind of silly that it starts off in the toilet. But then we meet up with Trevelyan. We go into the area. We meet Oromov, who sets off a whole other tangent of the movie, who later, he's built up to be this big villain in the beginning, and then by the end he's just a drunk, worthless sod. But, And I love the coldness of, like, Trevelyan getting shot right there. Bond cuts the timer down, which also feeds in the story. I like the opening of GoldenEye because there's so many aspects of it that feed into the main story. I feel like GoldenEye is one of the more connected opening sequences, because a lot of the opening sequences kind of feel isolated, like the end of a mission, or like the start of something, or just like a little part of it ties in. Like, in Live and Let Die, how you talked about how the funeral came back. Moonraker, you have Jaws for the whole thing. It's little pieces. The whole beginning of GoldenEye is building to something. It's building to a personal mission, because Bond thinks it's personal for one reason, it becomes personal for an entire another reason. I just think GoldenEye does a great job of contributing everything. Everything that the opening does contributes in some way.
You know what else we get out of GoldenEye's opening that we don't get to see very often is a couple of things in regards to Bond and how he works. So number one, he's working with somebody else, and there's like a camaraderie. Because usually when you think Bond, yeah, you got like Leiter coming in and helping him out, or you got other agents occasionally coming in and out. But there's like a real camaraderie between him and Trevelyan. And then it's like, because of this, it's like Bond's having fun on the job. So that's something
there's a real friendship there.
Yeah.
And outside of Felix Leiter, you don't see many friendships.
Yeah.
And I think that just that helps the GoldenEye opening. So, what category would you like to do next?
This will probably be short-lived. The themes, the songs.
Okay. You want me to start?
Well, I will say something right off. A couple that I want to mention right off, because they didn't make it, and I guess they're kind of worth mentioning, is, well, for starters, I want to say there aren't really any Bond themes that I'm, like, totally crazy about.
Yeah.
Like, there aren't any that just, like, completely say, like, this is one of, like, the best songs I've ever heard or anything. Like, they work as a theme, and then that's about as far as it goes, really. There's some really good songs, but there's, yeah. Like, some that I didn't go for that, like Goldfinger. Like, Goldfinger's not something I'd listen to by itself, even though it does play during DiCaprio's wedding reception in Wolf of Wall Street. I thought was great.
That's funny.
But it's like, it's memorable. Like, it's identifiable, which is important. And then there's stuff like, you know what theme I actually kind of like a lot is The World's Not Enough.
Yeah.
I think they're very ironically named Garbage. Because
well, I can tell you right now, just from what you've said, our 5 songs lists are about as different as our openings list was.
So, do you want to start or do you want me to?
I'll start. Number 5 is A View to a Kill. Fucking 80s. I love anything 80s, so A View to a Kill resonated with me. I like the opening that comes with it, too. I feel like it's stripped in 80s as well. I just think A View to a Kill's fun.
Duran Duran's just awesome.
Yeah.
Just in general, of course.
Agreed.
Alright. My number 5 is Thunderball.
It's very bombastic.
Yeah, as I say, it's not so much the song itself, but I just think Tom Jones has the perfect voice for a Bond theme.
I agree.
And it really kind of fits that. It's nice and introductory to the movie. It's one of the most exciting things about the movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's...
It is. The theme of Thunderball works like the opening sequence of Spectre. Like, it's like, oh, this is going to be crazy. And then, like, it just...
And just how it builds and builds. His voice gets more and more out of control, but he, like, never loses it because he's Tom Jones.
And I don't mean to keep picking on Spectre, but I don't know if you noticed watching Spectre, like, the big opening happens, and then the movie happens, you're like, oh, okay. And then cool shit keeps happening to keep you coming back. And you're like, it's got to get better. Sorry, I don't mean to keep picking on Spectre.
That's Spectre in a nutshell, for sure. We should probably, just for the sake of it, go ahead on to my number 4.
Okay,
my number 4 brings us back to A View to a Kill.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, Duran Duran's awesome. 80s. Love it. It's cool. You can listen to it by itself, and it's just fine. It used to play on the radio all the time by itself.
It's on my iPod.
Yeah. So, yeah,
it is.
There we go.
Oh, I forgot. I wanted to mention something in the honorable mentions. It didn't make my list because it's not technically a theme song, but I like the orchestral set during the opening credits of On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Yeah.
Because it's not the Bond theme, but it's just a nice little instrumental set, and it gets you hyped. It's like, it's very classy, but like classy hype.
That's like the perfect honorable mention.
Yeah, like it was on my list for a while. You can see the erase marks where it started. But on to number 4. My number 4 is Nobody Does It Better from The Spy Who Loved Me.
Interesting.
I think it fits the theme. Because it's not really a love story like it wasn't on Her Majesty's Secret Service, but there's...
Despite the title.
Yeah. But there's, like... I think what makes that relationship work so well is it's a respect-based relationship. And Bond doesn't have many of those with women. Most of the women are either beneath him or just the piece of ass at the end of the rainbow. But I feel like with Anya, there was an actual respect. And we'll get into her later.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. I guess we're both going that direction.
Yeah.
Alright, do I do my number 3 now?
What was your number 4? Video Kill, that's right. Okay, go ahead, number 3.
Number 3 is Skyfall.
Oh, mine too! We can do this together.
Okay, well the thing about Skyfall is it sounds amazing. Have you ever listened to just the instrumental? Where it's got that little, like, it's got those little Bond-like tunes in the middle, but then it also gets really big at the end, too. A lot of people don't like Adele's vocals. I like the joke that Seth MacFarlane made, when obviously she won the Oscar for it, and they performed those at the ceremony. So there was a bit where he was backstage talking to Sally Field, and she's like, shouldn't you be out there hosting? And he's like, nah, Adele's out there screaming her song at everybody. But
I think Skyfall also fits the mood, because it's kind of a somber song, and Skyfall's kind of a somber movie.
I might have mentioned this when I did the verses, and it's really obvious too, but I wonder if you ever noticed it. Did you notice during the opening sequence, when it says, and Judi Dench as M, it's going through a cemetery?
No, I didn't.
It's like, that's kind of interesting foreshadowing.
Yeah, but I think Skyfall's a really good song. I think it's like, I don't know, I just enjoy it. Like, when I first heard it, I was like, this is pretty fantastic.
And the opening sequence that goes with it is really cool too, which always adds to it.
Yeah, Skyfall really, yeah, it did. Skyfall's really good. It's probably the best modern Bond film. If not best, it's fucking up there.
Do you want to go to, or do you want me to go to?
You go to.
My second favorite is License to Kill.
Oh, that's a good one.
License to Kill is really cool.
Glass Knight the Pips.
Yeah, and the thing about it, the funny thing is I know this is sacrilege because it's fucking Glass Knight, but the vocals are my least favorite thing about it. I think the vocals are pretty generic, especially for a song of hers, but it's got such a cool 80s beat to it.
Yeah.
It's just really cool, and it really kind of sets up the...
kind of feels like an 80s power ballad.
Yeah, like it's saying, this is going to be awesome, but there's more to it. Like the movie
I feel like
itself.
The Living Daylights is very similar, too. Like the way Aha does it.
I much prefer License to Kill to Living Daylights, but that's me.
My number 2 is You Know My Name from Casino Royale.
Alright.
I like it because, like, it just dives right in. And I like the opening sequence with, like, the playing cards. I think the opening sequence goes well with it. But I like it because, like, I don't know, like, I wasn't sure what to expect for a Bond theme for a Bond that was going in a different direction. But I thought it kind of fit with everything else. It definitely sounds like it came from the time it was out. But, yeah, I just enjoy it. Like, I had it on my iPod for a while. I just think it's a cool song. I like the opening sequence with it, with the cards.
Obviously, given the circumstances, I don't want to, like, bash Chris Cornell.
Yeah.
Because that would be awful, but it's... I always thought it was, like, kind of... Especially with the sequence we were looking at, it was, like... I felt like the voice should have had a bit more power. It just kind of feels like it's just kind of... Like, he's just kind of... I don't know, but it just seemed a bit... I don't know.
Yeah. So. And I think the instrumental parts of it, like the doo-doo, doo-doo, doo, it feels very Bond.
Yeah. Alright. We doing my number 1 or your number 1?
You go first. Because I know they don't match.
Okay, why do you look at mine?
No, because you already mentioned mine wasn't on your list.
Oh, okay. My favorite Bond theme is You Only Live Twice.
Oh.
Because
didn't expect to go that direction.
Obviously, Nancy Sinatra has an awesome voice. And I really love that kind of... Once again, it very sets up the Japanese tone we're going to be going for. But in this kind of cool, kind of non-obvious way. It's also such a great song. It was used, like, for the finale of one of the seasons of Mad Men.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then Robbie Williams sampled it for Millennium. So...
I never knew that.
I for some reason, I just always really dug that song.
My number 1 is kind of a cheesy finish. It's Goldfinger, because when I think Bond theme, I think Goldfinger.
Alright.
I think Shirley Bassey just belting it out there. And, like, it's kind of corny, like... I don't know, when I think Bond theme, the first thing that comes to mind is Goldfinger. So where do you go from here?
The Henchmen.
Oh, I want to have this conversation.
Alright, I'm going to go through a few that didn't make my list. Do you want to text that person back to see if there's anything going on?
I cannot text them.
Well, alright.
Oh, I can.
So, the ones that didn't make it that I feel like are worth mentioning, obviously, I just feel a need to point out Dario. Benicio del Toro playing. Did I hear correctly? He is, to this day, the youngest Bond villain. I think he was like 21 or something when they made it.
I think so.
And just the way he like whips his knife out like that, like it just seems to come from out of nowhere. And then I like to, given how like, you know, violent his character is and how gruesome his character can be, I'd like to think he's intentionally named for Dario Argento. Was there ever any word on that? If that's true or not?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I like Gobinda from Octopussy. He's ruthless. He's got the sword. You always feel like Bond's like legitimately in danger when that dude's around.
Yeah.
To the point that they have to fight on a plane to finally kill his ass.
It has to throw him off of it.
And you know who else? There's a movie that has a couple of good henchmen in it. Tomorrow Never Dies. I think Mr. Stamper's a really good henchman. Yeah. He's like the dictionary definition of henchman.
Yeah, he really is. He
doesn't really say much, but he's big.
I considered him, but I feel like he's just kind of too generic.
Yeah. And if you want to call him a henchman, Dr. Kaufman in the same movie. I love the mystery around him. Like, he's obviously this really weird, creepy assassin, but we get like no background on him and he dies immediately. And it's almost like, I like the fact that he dies immediately because it just keeps the mystery. It's like, we don't know who he is now. We never will.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
I like that.
Agreed.
Alright, so my number 5 is Odd Job.
Okay.
Very simple. Very deadly. Doesn't say a word. Will kill anybody and anything.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, so, okay, Jill's gonna be the Bond girl. Oh no, Odd Job killed her. And it's like, oh, Tilly. Oh, Tilly's after revenge. Oh, Tilly's got a whole revenge plot going. Oh no, Odd Job killed her.
He gets shit done, man.
Yeah, he really does.
Gets shit done.
And I love the famous shot where he's like unstoppable. Where he like takes a brick of gold and hits him with it, and he just smiles at it. He's just like,
I love that his parody name is Random Task.
And it's just like almost every moment that Odd Job has is like iconic to the series. When he knocks the head off the statue, it's like one of the most famous scenes.
And you feel like he's somebody that shouldn't be threatening because Bond's twice his size, but he is.
Yeah.
He's not like Knick-Knack. Like Knick-Knack's kind of silly, but
and it's
like Odd Job is like a serious threat. Like Odd Job is scarier than Goldfinger.
And the reason I like that, I always said that Goldfinger would be a decent villain. The only problem is I feel like that Goldfinger is what would happen if Dudley Dursley grew up.
Well, not only that, but I feel like you have to have a good henchman, but they can't outshine your villain. And Odd Job outshines Goldfinger so much.
And it's like so his weapon's his hat, is it? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And then the statue scene happens, it's like, oh, well, okay. That's who we're dealing with.
I can deal this. It's just like Austin Powers like throws a shoe. I love the Random Task parody in Austin Powers. Like it's just so funny.
Who's your number 5?
My number 5 is Mr. Hanks from Spectre. I'm gonna pick on Spectre again. I think Batista's great in it. His introduction is great. I think it's so badass that he just walks in. I like that he doesn't really say much. I like Mr. Hanks because he kind of reminds me of a mixture between Oddjob and Red Grant.
There's a lot of Red Grant in him.
Yeah, and I just think he's really cool, and I didn't think I would enjoy Batista in movies, but between this and Guardians, he's really good. But I like Mr. Hanks. I think Mr. Hanks is the right kind of intensity. I think him and Bond's car chase is really good through Italy.
I like the way Waltz calls back the kill later where he's like, did you know that Bond watched some dude get his eyes gouged out? Like, he was alive still.
I just think, I like Hanks because I just think he's really cool. I had fun watching him.
Is that it?
Yeah, you're number 4.
Number 4 is obviously a combo.
Okay.
Wit and Kid.
Oh.
Wit and Kid are so creepy.
I hate to say it, they did make my list.
Damn.
They were right on the edge.
Bruce Glover and Putter Smith. There's something even creepier about Kid. I don't know if it's his appearance or what it is. There's that shot where he's like just lurking behind a curtain. So
I have a question outside of the realm here. Is Putter Smith the dad of one of the guys on Mythbusters? Because he looks like a kid. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But then there's like the scorpion scene. Like the whole beginning is just them going around just offing dudes in really creepy ways. I was telling you, one of my favorite lines in the movie is so cold-blooded because it's like they're talking to the old lady and she's like, "You get some pictures of the canal for the children now." And then later on, they're pulling her out of the canal they've obviously dumped her in, and Kid is taking pictures and saying, well, she said she wanted pictures of the canal for the children. It's like, holy fuck.
That, and they're that old, they're the henchman at the end that comes back. Like they kind of just go away, and then all of a sudden they're back.
That's a tradition I miss so much. Teehee did that too.
Yeah.
A lot of them did. Knick-Knack did that. That used to be the thing. That's kind of what Rosa Klebb did, even though she's the villain.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're just so creepy.
But that's another case like Oddjob and Goldfinger where Red Grant outshines her.
Yeah. But I also love, like, that scene when they just come back and they're like the room service guys. And it's like, they're creepy because we know they're creepy. But from Bond's perspective here, yeah, they do just look like room service guys.
Yeah, they don't look imposing at all.
Yeah. So I love them.
My number 4 is Jaws. And the reason Jaws is so low is because if it was Jaws from The Spy Who Loved Me and the skydiving scene, he'd probably be number 2 or number 1. Moonraker really does a disservice to him. And I'm not even talking about where he goes good at the end. That bugs me, but that's not what I'm at. He just becomes a punchline through most of Moonraker. Like, it's try to find funny ways that Jaws gets fucked over in his own situation. Like the cable car, when he like crashes into the building, and then
the nonchalant way Bond introduces him. Oh, that's Jaws. He kills people.
But if you take him from The Spy Who Loved Me, his first scene out there in the desert, it's so good. It's so tense because Bond looks at him, and just the look on his face is like, fuck, I cannot beat this guy.
Do you want to go on? Because Jaws is my number 3.
Sure. Okay.
I love that he's this hulking giant with metal teeth. Once again, Bond sees him. That's his reaction. He wears a suit. He's not wearing anything that imposing. He's just wearing a suit. Has to be tailor-made.
It's the old joke that we said. He gets dressed up to do this shit.
What I liked about that scene you were talking about is
which one? Spy Who Loved Me?
The scene in Spy Who Loved Me in the dark when he's stalking around.
Oh yeah.
And what's really interesting about that is this is a dude that's known for his size and mass. Yet this dude can stalk. That's kind of a scary thought.
Yeah, it is.
Like a shark, perhaps. And yes, the irony is not lost on me that he ends up in a Shark Tank biting a shark. A guy named Jaws. 2 years after Jaws came out. And what else do we get with Jaws? Another awesome train fight.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Bond's history is littered with great train fights.
So yeah, it's
Hanks.
Yeah. So for me, it's all about Jaws and The Spy Who Loved Me. But yeah, obviously, Here's to Us really drives me the fuck insane.
You hate the cliche of the good guy or the bad guy gone good anyway.
But not only that, he just went good in such a stupid way. Not to say that Dolly isn't a little cute, but I mean he's Jaws.
Plus, I thought Bond kind of easily manipulated him. I was surprised that Jaws was able to be so easily manipulated because in The Spy Who Loved Me, like they built him up to be this like giant, but he was smart. He was cunning. He could do some damage without. Yeah, he could stalk. In Moonraker, he just seems like the big oaf. Like he's more Andre the Giant and Princess Bride. Like I kind of felt I really felt like that's the direction Jaws went.
I probably would have liked it better if instead of Here's to Us, his only line was anybody want a peanut.
My number 3 turns this category into hench people. My number 3 is Xenia from GoldenEye.
Okay.
And the reason I like Xenia is because I think Xenia is what Bond could be if Bond flew off the handle. She kills people with sex. She seduces all the men to get what she wants. I feel like she's a perfect foil because Bond likes his sex, and even with Xenia, he's like, back it the fuck off. Like, I just think she's the perfect embodiment of what he would be as a henchman. He would seduce women and do to them the same thing.
I have issues with
Plus,
Xenia.
she's psycho.
Yeah, I have issues with Xenia. It's not Family Jansen's performance either. It's more like the way they're really trying to drive up how crazy the character is, how she's constantly doing the moaning thing. Every time, if I'm watching GoldenEye and there's other people in the house, I have to mute the Xenia scenes because they're going to think I'm watching something else.
That's funny.
And I think it's a little too much. Like, they went a little too for the look how crazy she is thing, but I understand where you're coming from for sure, especially the way you describe it.
Yeah.
Ready for my number 2?
Yeah.
My number 2 is Baron Samedi.
Nice.
He doesn't do a whole lot, but I love...
His end is hilarious. His supposed end.
Or where he fucks the snakes.
Maybe that's what gave him immortality. Who knows?
But the thing here, though, is...
Lex looked over when you were like, oh, he's up in snakes.
It's not what he doesn't do a lot, it's what he stands for. Baron Samity's whole purpose is to strike fear into the hearts of everybody in his vicinity.
And he succeeds.
Yes, and the thing is, like, he's got the whole voodoo thing going on. I love his appearance is cool, like the paint and the white and the hat and all that. And it's like, but when he's not doing that, like when they say like he's this, supernatural being that's, lives off fear, like he's Freddy Krueger or something. But then when we see him normally, when he's not having to play it up like that, he's just dressed really sharp. He comes off like really smooth. He wears like the hats and shit.
He comes off like Jeffrey Holder.
Yeah, and he's got that. My favorite thing about Baron Samedi is that laugh. Jeffrey Holder's known for his voice.
He has a good evil laugh.
Yeah, but he was like the spokesperson for 7-Up back in the day, and he's a narrator a lot. But I mean, the laugh even more so, I think, is great. So yeah, and just the fact that there's a Bond henchman whose sole purpose is to cause fear. I just love like when Rosie Carver sees the hat and freaks out. It's like a ghost is coming for her, but that's Baron Samedi's angle. And like that's enough to strike fear into people. And I love that. That's so creepy.
Yeah. My number 2 is Oddjob. We already talked about him. Oddjob gets shit done. I think that's why he's a good henchman, and it takes a lot to take him down. He has to get electrocuted by a cage and everything. And I agree with what you said. There's a lot of memorable things that Oddjob comes up for. And I think his efficiency pushes him to the top because he doesn't fail often. The only person we see him fail with is Bond. Like you said, we think Jill's going to be the girl, nope, dead. We think it's going to be Tilly, nope, dead. Like, he just makes it happen. He's very good at what he does. I have a feeling you had the same number 1.
I would say so.
Your number 1 is?
Red Grant.
Fucking Red Grant. Fucking Red Grant, man.
Well, the thing is, though, is that Red Grant actually... You're talking about how he compares to Klebb, and how Klebb is like the villain for From Russia with Love, and Grant's the hired hand. But the thing here is that Grant has, like, transcended the henchman title, and a lot of people consider him to be one of the best Bond villains ever. And that's something in itself. Yeah. And the way we see him is like, once again, kind of like the Jaws thing, where we see him as this hulking dude. You can punch him in the stomach with brass knuckles and he doesn't move. Like I said, that whole opening scene is one of my favorite openings in the series. Just watch him strangle a dude with his watch. But then, just like that, if he needs to put on a suit and go undercover, you just buy him as some business dude.
Yeah. And then when him and Bond are in the train, he goes so sophisticated. Yeah. Like, the only thing that Bond caught was the wine choice. That was the only thing that gave him away. And that train scene is so good. And Red Grant is so good. He's so imposing. He's threatening. Every time you see him on screen, you're just waiting for him to strike. And whoever he's going to strike isn't going to fare well. And I just think Red Grant's awesome.
How crazy is it? How elaborate the action scenes and the fight scenes have gotten in this franchise. When you look at, Casino Royale and Skyfall and Spectre and the really shoddily edited stuff going on in Quantum of Solace is like every 10 minutes is a fight scene because they have no story. It's like they have such a small story, everything has to be a fight scene. And we've evolved this much in still to this day, one of the best fight scenes in Bond history was filmed in 1963.
The train scene, you and I have talked about before, the train scene is just
the whole
cinematic wonderfulness.
It's like gotta be some of the best stuff, not just in Bond history, but in movie history. The whole train sequence, starts off as like Murder on the Orient Express, which Connery would later star in, 11 years later. Which I like to think is just a reference to that in general. Yeah. And then, and it's just like it's like this masterclass in suspense and build up.
Not only that, but it's dripping in atmosphere. Like the whole thing is shot very compacted. Like, it gives you that feeling that, like, everyone's this close. Like, he could strike at any time.
In my own writing, when I'm doing something that's, like, building suspense, the train scene from Russia with Love is a huge reference point. It always has been.
Mm-hmm. It's very Hitchcockian, too.
Yeah.
Like, man, well, I'm sure we'll get into From Russia with Love more later.
Yes.
I'm sure.
Oh, before we move on from Henchmen, not really a top list or anything, but just as a throwaway discussion, got any favorite allies?
Lighter's a good one. I like Lighter pretty well.
I really like Quarrel from Dr. No.
Mm-hmm.
I always forget how much he's in. He's like really crucial. He's like might as well be like Bond's sidekick for most of the movie.
Yeah.
And it's legitimately sad when he gets burned to death.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that they loved him so much they brought in Quarrel Jr. for Live and Let Die. It's like, let's let this character live on.
Go ahead.
Karim Bey.
Yeah.
I think his portions of the movie kind of slow down, like the gypsy stuff kind of slows From Russia with Love down a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I love the scene, like the billboard scene, when he's like so bloodthirsty. He's like, give me the rifle, let me do it. Mm-hmm. Not to mention the actor playing Karim Bey is a really sad story. Where he was like dying of cancer while they were shooting. Like the reason he did From Russia with Love was to have that money for after he died.
Oh shit!
And he was like in severe pain through the whole shooting. I think he was one of the actors that was on set of The Conqueror and got cancer.
Oh.
And that's how that happened.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Another ally I kind of like is Columbo, Topol, and For Your Eyes Only. I like how like ambiguous he is, because like Christados is like, oh dude, he's bad news. He's really bad news. And we go to Columbo and he's like, no, Christados is the one that's bad news. And it's like, oh shit, which one of them is it? And Topol's just like so. Once again, he's got one of those voices I love so much. Mm-hmm.
I also have to put I like Tanaka from You Only Live Twice.
Yeah.
I like him, and he's one of the few allies that survives.
Yeah.
He's one of the few that
actually can't
survives.
say the same thing.
No, it's a shame what happened to her in that movie. That was another moment where I felt like Bond was very human about her death.
Yeah, because she's in it. That's another case where she's actually in it for a lot. Like, she warrants it.
Yeah.
Screen time.
She's more the Bond girl than Kissy Suzuki is.
I keep forgetting Kissy Suzuki's, like, in it.
She's a prop.
Yeah.
Like, she's just a prop. Like,
well,
I don't even think she comes back for the last fight. I think she goes against Tanaka, and then she's like, fuck it, I'm out.
This is the perfect segue.
Okay.
It's time to do the Bond girls.
Okay.
We both agreed before we started this video this was the hardest one to do, because they're just...
There's so many that are so worthless.
And so underused.
Yeah.
Underutilized.
Yep.
A few I'd like to throw out there, like, there's cases like Romanova, or Domino in this case, where they actually, they get to kill the villain, so they're a little more crucial, but that doesn't always mean everything. Like, Romanova is another one of those cases also where it's not my favorite portion of From Russia with Love, because I feel like it's so far-fetched. The whole plan of, you're going to go track down Bond because you send him love letters, and that's how you're going to infiltrate him. It's like, really? That's it?
Well, that would be a good way to infiltrate somebody that is probably, his dick is probably the most known thing in the world.
And then there's like Goodnight. She was the one in Man with the Golden Gun, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like she actually gets to do stuff, but it's like Scaramanga's like, oh, you're just a Bond girl. We gotta put you in a bikini if you're gonna do stuff.
Yeah. And Honey Rider's a classic, but she doesn't do a whole lot.
Is it good?
She's just concerned about her seashells.
The damn names. Is it Goodhead that's in Moonraker?
Yeah.
The one I make fun of because it's like, even Bond calls her out on it because he's hanging off the cable car and she's like, James, hang on! And he's like, the thought crossed my mind. One that I thought was gonna go in a good direction and they kind of ruined was Pam Bouillet from License to Kill. It's like she's gonna be this badass, and it's like Dario and his dudes show up, and he's like, "Don't worry, I got this," and she's like, "No, I got this," and she whips a shotgun out. But then right after that, they do the Bond cliche to where it's like just instantaneous attraction after an action scene, and then they basically ruin her from that point on. And she's not the badass with the shotgun she once was. Yeah. She's not even in the climax. If she is, she barely is.
Barely, I believe.
It's mostly the fucking tanker chase.
Yeah.
So that's
which is a good chase.
Yeah. So
ending a License to Kill is really fun.
Yeah. Do you have any other you want to mention off, or are we going on top
5? I just think what made this list so hard is there's so many Rosie Carvers. Like
let's hate on Rosie Carver for a second. Here's the thing. Is Rosie Carver could have been, they build her up like she's gonna be this badass Pam Grier type.
Yeah. But
then she comes in and she's like, oh, I'm gonna get you. And then it's like, no, I work for Leiter. I wasn't gonna do anything. And then it's like, okay, I'm gonna go in the other room now. Scream because there's a snake. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna go in here now. Scream because there's a hat.
It's at the point where at the end, she screams at the statue and Bond's like, oh, come on.
Then they get on the boat, and she's like, oh, this guy's trouble. He's like, no, that's Coral Jr., put the gun down. And then they make out on the beach. Mm. It's like, oh shit. And it's like, shut up, woman. And then she gets shot and killed.
Yeah.
What was her purpose? Okay, she built...
Over the hills down there.
Okay, the hat thing kind of built up fear for Baron Samedi. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's what she did.
It works at the beginning because it gives you this air of suspense of, like, is he going to pop out? But then after a while, it just gets grating. It's like Willie in Temple of Doom. She just starts screaming at everything.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
All right, ready for top 5?
Yep, who's your number 5?
Number 5 Bond girl is barely in her movie, but she made the poster.
Okay.
But I like her for different reasons than you would typically like the Bond girls, and that's Paris.
Oh.
Paris Carver.
Okay.
Because I like their exchange. Because there's
history.
Yeah, she brings out the emotion in Bond. Like when we don't know their history too much, but there's just enough given to us that we actually feel like Bond is hit when he finds her dead.
Yeah.
And when he kills Dr. Kaufman, it's so cold-blooded because there was clearly something there. Mm-hmm. And I just like this exchange when they do the back and forth, and it's what they tried to do with like with Vesper Lynd. I know people love the dialogue in the back and forth. It's like, ooh, so sexy, ooh, but I just see it as nothing but pompous in a bad way. So, and very arrogant.
You really hate the Gregs.
But with Paris, the thing here is, like, I love the way she sticks it to him. Because it's like, oh, Bond, you left me in the middle of the night. You know, you just went off, and you just forgot about me, I guess. But then they do the thing where it's like they remember each other's drinks. She's like, I remember your drink. And then he's like, whoa, I'm going to get her here. She thinks I left. She thinks I forgot about her. I remember the drink you got. And she's like, I don't give a fuck. I want my husband's champagne. That's a double fuck you. That's number one, my husband, I prefer. Mm-hmm. And secondly, that's, yes, you remember the drink I got, but I don't care. Mm. And it's like, that's like the ultimate, she hit him twice. Yeah. And I love that. And there's definitely something where I feel like if we got more of her, there could have been, you know, like a lot of scenes like that. They really had that chemistry. Mm-hmm. So I really liked her even though she's so short-lived.
Yeah. My number 5 is Octopussy.
Nice.
I think it's... I love that she lives in like this Bond dream scenario. It's an island infiltrated with all women. And I also liked Octopussy because Octopussy's in the meat of the story.
She's in charge.
Yeah, she doesn't feel tacked on. She didn't get roped in. She's in the meat of the story. She plays an important part. It's her circus that's causing all of this. And and her women that are in and do it. And I just think I like her because she doesn't feel... This is mostly going to be a list of people to me that don't feel useless. Yeah. Except for one. There's one on there that's kind of useless, but I liked her, so I put her on there. But yeah, I like Octopussy because she matters to the story. She's not just, you know, somebody for Bond to get with, even though he does. I just think I like that she contributes to the story. There's a reason she exists, and it's an important one.
And there's a reason they brought Maud Adams back to play a different character. Because they clearly saw something in her. It's like, she's kind of a good Bond girl. Let's amp it up a little bit this time. Let's not just kill her off during a match or whatever the fuck.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Number 4 is Pussy Galore.
Oh, okay.
Once again, there's kind of an ambiguity there. Is she good? Is she bad? She can beat his ass. There's obviously you get they literally roll in the hay when they fight. She's a damn pilot. And yeah, I mean that's all you can really ask. That's all the qualities that are missing from the other ones. Yeah. It's like she's not afraid to beat his ass. She can just. She's kind of her own thing. She's like she could be her own character.
And it's not such a big deal that she goes good because you feel like she has reservations anyway.
Yeah, she was always on the line.
It wasn't much of a stretch for her to go good. It's not like Jaws going good.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all.
My number 4 is probably the most useless woman on my list. In fact, I know she is. But I just like her. I like the concept of her. My number 4 is Solitaire.
Oh, yeah.
I like Solitaire because, like... I don't know. There's just something about her, like... They kind of hold her up to this standard. She's like Kananga's right-hand person, but she just wants to do good things. And then I like the interesting fact that, like, Bond having relations with her actually contributes to the story. It actually moves things along. It wasn't just a random screw. Like, afterwards she couldn't read the cards, and
it did.
Kananga flipped his shit.
It did need more build-up than it got, though. This is what I was talking about, where in more we were really bad about the women just fall into his bed. There's no seduction. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think with her it works because where she hadn't been touched before, she had the air of, like, an innocence. Like, she could be easily duped into doing that.
Which also kind of also has the thing to it in regards to the fact that this was Jane Seymour's first movie. Mm-hmm. So then that in itself kind of adds, like, an innocent nature to it. It's like, be careful, it's her first time. Yeah.
But I like it because she's one of the few screws that Bond gets that actually plays a part in the story. No matter how ridiculous it may be, it does play a part in the story. So I think with that, that's why she makes number 4, because her screwing has a purpose, even though she herself may not be all that purposeful.
Yeah. No need to really elaborate. My number 3 is Octopussy. We went through that. I said she feels like she's in charge. Her name's on the circus. Mm-hmm. All that stuff. Maud Adams. All that fun stuff.
My number 3, not much to talk about. Pussy Galore. Same reason. Same reasons. She's a badass. She's conflicted, but she pretty much sides with who's ever going to win. And plus, she's iconic when it comes to the Bond women. She's
she's the start of the names.
Yeah. Long list of names.
In the 60s, you could actually get away with that as long as it was a name.
Yeah.
Or a cat, like in Diamonds Are Forever.
Yeah. Wrong pussy. Who's your number 2?
Number 2 is Triple X. Anya, whatever her name was.
Alosova.
Yeah, I love her so much I forgot her damn name. I just call her Triple X. It's easier. I like the plot of The Spy Who Loved Me. The fact that it's gonna go back and forth, like, because it obviously starts off with the cliche, "Oh, I hate you," but we know she's gonna fall in love with him. But then it's later revealed she's got a legit vendetta against him. He killed her dude.
Yeah.
And she keeps saying, "We're gonna do this, and afterwards, I'm gonna fucking kill you for that."
Yeah.
And there's like an ongoing thing like that throughout with their relationship, and that's something we don't see with the Bond girls. So, and that really enriches not just their relationship, but the movie itself, which is once again is something the Bond girls don't get enough of an opportunity to do.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's basically the extent of that.
My number 2 is Melina Havelock from For Your Eyes Only, because she is not useless. She has a crossbow. She's invested in the story because of her dad. I think she's one of the few Bond girls that she was going to end up in the story anyway. Even if Bond wasn't the agent that was picked, she was going to fight. She was going to do it. And I like that she's not useless. I like that she's willing to get in and get her hands dirty, and she's not just there to be eye candy or be saved. She serves a purpose. In this Bond book that I have, her picture in the book is holding her fucking crossbow. It's not in a bikini or anything like that. Oh, you want that? By the way, I want to mention too that I don't know if it's your number 1 or not, but I kept Mayday off of the girls list and the henchman list because honestly I didn't know where to put her.
It would have been she could have been either.
Yeah.
See, this is what we wanted to show off this book while we were at it. I don't remember how long ago you got this. It was forever ago. The last one in it's The World Is Not Enough, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But what I really love about it is not just is it like real. It's basically a Bond textbook. And the thing about that is not only is it just that, but they put the shit in it. Like some of the action scenes are like full on illustrated. Like this is the skydive in Moonraker. I don't know how well you can see that, but yeah, this was basically like the way we got through all the movies, and we studied this before we even saw the movies.
So that way everything made sense.
Yes.
Emil Locke, he was another good henchman.
Yeah, short-lived, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, while we're on the topic, and this is the picture you were talking about, my number 1 is Melina Havelock.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Once again, crossbow. I think this is the first time I ever saw somebody use a crossbow in a movie.
It might have been.
And now it's like a really popular thing, thanks to
Daryl.
Yeah, that's it. But there's also, and she's so thirsty for revenge, she just fucking goes and gets it. She just gets it right away. It's not about getting the revenge. No, it's like, I need to get revenge. Kills the dude, then the movie starts.
Yeah. She's like the odd job of the women. She's efficient.
And she's an actress you might remember from Louis Buñuel's That Obscure Object of Desire. and then this was a few years later, and she's like, yeah, not only is she just such a badass, but there's also that moment where like, she's not too hardcore, because she could have been like, oh, you know, death, bloodshed, I need it, but like
she could have been Xenia.
Yeah, but it's like, once she killed the dude, like, the very next scene, their car is, like, going down hills, and she's, like, laughing and having fun with it. And it's like, I got my revenge, I got my bloodlust, I'm happy now, I can relax.
She feels very developed for a Bond girl.
Yeah, and she's not without her moments. There's amusing scream on the boat. She has her little bird. She feeds, like, pistachios and shit. I just think that's charming, I guess. So yeah, she's got all these different qualities to her, and it's great. And there's something, I don't know how to say this without sounding like a tool, but there's something unconventionally sexy about her, you know? She's not like the normal, like, what's her name? Like Goodnight in Man with Golden Gun. She's not like that. But she's able to do that and have the badassery.
Yeah.
So, works out.
It's a good combination.
Yes.
My number one's Anya, and it's the respect factor. I think that she's one of the few women in the series that Bond holds a lot of respect for, and I think that there's times that he would even, it's not shown in the movie, but I feel like she's a character that he would fear, because she just keeps saying, like, we're going to do this, and then you're not going back alive. You know, you've done this thing, and now I'm going to kill you for it. And I just think that I like how she's developed that way. I like that she sticks to, until the end, she sticks to her guns. And, like, she's still, like, doing backdoor deals with the KGB and stuff, like, going back to them and telling them what's going on. And I just like her as a character, and I think, I don't know, I think the actress that does it too, Barbara Bach, I think she's good in it too.
Yeah. She
does very well. But yeah, Anya's the best one, and I think, for me, she's number one because I think she's the one that Bond respects the most.
Nice. We have 2 categories left. How are we doing on time? Alright, we're good to go. Alright, are we ready?
Yeah.
Are we set? Honestly, this was a little tougher than I thought.
The villains?
Yeah.
I thought the hardest list to build, more even than the girls, was the henchmen, because there's so many good ones.
Yeah.
So many good ones.
The villains, I
could have done a 10 for the henchmen, honestly.
The villains I kind of had to be picky with, because it was like, well, there's a lot more than I remember that are overshadowed by their henchmen.
Yeah.
So, obviously, one I didn't go for because I didn't really have a specific one in mind, and once again, it's just more about the goings-on around. I couldn't pick a Blofeld. I don't have a Blofeld.
I do as a character, spoiler.
My favorite is probably Donald Pleasance's, just because he's barely there. He's in like the very last 10 minutes or so, but he's just so iconic. I don't know if Dr. Evil helps, it might. But just his portrayal, when somebody says Blofeld, even Spectre went with this. When somebody says Blofeld, I imagine like the weird collar and the cat and the scar.
Yeah.
And like I said, even Spectre went in that direction. They had to make Waltz look like that, because it's like, that's the Blofeld we're going to go with. Not to say that Spectre made good decisions all the way through, by no means, but...
they stole the Goldmember plot.
And like I said, Goldfinger, you know, is like a grown-up Dudley Dursley. And then there's another one of my favorites I just missed was Kamal Khan. I loved Louis Jourdain as a Bond villain. Just in general, that's a good idea, but then he actually played it really well too, even though, once again, he's a character that's kind of overshadowed by a lot of things in that movie.
Yeah. Octopussy has a lot going on. Because you have him, you have Gobinda as henchman, you have Octopussy over here, then you have General Orlov from fucking Beverly Hills Cop doing his own thing.
Who was also in Girl with Dragon Tattoo, by the way. Fincher's version.
Oh.
So, are you ready for... Do you want to go first on villains or me?
Sure, I will. My number 5 villain, please don't close out the video when I tell you. My number 5 villain is Electra King from The World's Not Enough.
Interesting.
Because she's so manipulative. She can make anybody do anything. She's just so... And you can tell it eats through Bond because the way he just guns her down. Because she tries to manipulate him again. She's like, at the end, she's like, you'll miss me. No, I won't. Off he goes.
Do you think The World Is Not Enough is a weaker movie when you know Electra's angle? Because it seems like a big portion of the movie is that twist.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think it's one of those movies that when the twist is revealed, it loses luster on future viewings.
Yeah.
But I like how manipulative Elektra is. I feel like I feel like she's, even though her motives may not be that great, and her reason for wanting to do what she's wanting to do isn't that great, I just love how manipulative her character is and how she can get everybody to march to her beat. She had M marching to her beat, Bond marching to her beat. She goes in and she just fucking takes Valentine out in his own casino with cards. Like,
Renard's
not killing him, but like just beating him in the card game. And I just like how she gets everybody to follow her lead. And the fact that it just... and you can tell at the end, it just angers Bond so much that he got taken.
Like I said, it's kind of hard to think, or it's kind of hard to not think that Nolan might have borrowed this a little bit with The Dark Knight Rises, because you got the dude who you think is the villain, who is impervious to pain, and the whole build-up is him and how big and bad he is, and then the twist is it's the girl that the hero was falling for.
Yeah.
And he's actually just her lapdog. It's exactly what happened in The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
And of course we know Nolan to be a massive Bond fan, so I wouldn't put it past him, quite honestly.
Yeah, contrary to popular belief, I'm sure, Elektra is my number 5.
Okay. My number 5... Honestly, I don't have much to add to what I said earlier. Number 5 is Scaramanga.
Oh.
I love how much he loves playing games. He's got the whole fun house. I love the fact that he's nothing more than an assassin.
Yeah.
When he seems like he'd be this really big deal and like this big boss, he's just a fucking hitman. And the golden gun obviously is an iconic weapon in the series.
I love the irony of the man with the golden gun, that Scaramanga wants to harness like global energy, like from the sun, like the solar energy, not global. Solar energy, and it's viewed as such a bad thing. And then we look today now, and it's just funny to me. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
I didn't really have much else to add. And of course, the whole third nipple thing isn't interesting.
That was used purely as a way to identify him without seeing his face.
That's another cool thing about him, too, is that the fact that nobody knows what he looks like makes him nice and cool and mysterious. Not for us, the audience, because we meet him in the first fucking scene, but as I said, I love that first fucking scene.
Yeah.
So.
Plus, it's fucking Christopher Lee.
Yes.
Christopher Lee was amazing. So good. My number 4, another one, please don't click out of the video. I went a little unconventional.
You're going fully controversial.
Number 4 is Zorin. From View to a Kill. And the reason I like Zorin is because Zorin is one of the only Bond villains that straight up picks up a gun and just starts blowing people away.
When you think of him as like this, conglomerate dude, and he's like just in suits behind desks saying, do this shit, and he's behind the whole thing, like Max Schreck.
He's a lot like that. When I watched A View to a Kill, I looked at Max Zorin, and I saw Bill Gates with Donald Trump's demeanor with an Uzi in his hand, is what I saw.
And the point I was getting at was, you think of him that way, it surprises you when you watch the movie how hands-on he is.
He's very hands-on. And I love that, the Russian government has to step in, and they're like, you cannot do what you want to do. And he pretty much tells them, fuck off. I'm doing what I want, I don't care. And I like that he's psychotic because he was like a test tube baby. It makes it interesting. But, plus, I love the idea of walking as a villain in anything. He may not have been the right kind of person to play a Bond villain, but if he was going to play one, Zorin's the one to play. I love all of the different, I love the air of sophistication around him. The fucking horse thing, like you said.
It's like a period piece.
Yeah, it feels like a period piece.
But then you contrast that with when we see him in his private time, he fucking spars with Mayday.
Yeah, you look at the scene at City Hall. In any other Bond movie, it would probably have just been Mayday that showed up and, oh shit, what's her face?
Stacey's son.
No, the blonde girl that works with him.
Oh, I don't remember. I see a face now. Maybe I can
remember.
look it up and tell you.
She's played by Alison Doody. I don't remember her name.
Who was also in Taffin with Brosnan, a future Bond.
Oh. But when they show up at City Hall to burn it down, you would think it would just be those two, the Mayday and the woman. But no, Zorin's there. Zorin pulls the trigger on the official from the office.
I don't think she's here.
Are you serious?
They have cast lists in the back, don't they?
I think. But anyway, now you've got me distracted. There. Jenny Flex. That's it. Okay. You would think it would be Mayday and Jenny Flex that would come in and do it, and it doesn't. Zoran comes in. Zoran pulls the trigger on the guy. Zoran sets the fire after pouring the gasoline. He does a hell of it. And then at the end, at the Golden Gate Bridge, you know, Mayday's gone at that point. You have this old doctor guy. The other guy that was with him, I can't remember his name either. He was kind of built up
Dr.
as a
Mortimer and Scarpine.
Scarpine, that's it. Scarpine gets knocked out in the blimp, so Zoran has to go out. And Zoran has fun. He's like smiling, swinging the axe at fucking old-ass Roger Moore. And I like him because he's insane. I like the fact that he's very hands-on. I think that works well for him.
You can just keep going. My number 4 was Zoran.
Oh, okay.
We kind of work together on that. So.
Yeah. Okay. My number 3 is Trevelyan from Goldeneye. I like Trevelyan because Trevelyan was a friend. And I think the fact that he turns on him adds a whole other layer to Bond's purpose. It makes it personal. And it's like I was talking about earlier with the opening scene. Trevelyan makes the case personal, but in the middle of the movie, the reason it's personal changes.
Yeah.
And I think it's very interesting. And I love the reveal that Trevelyan is Yanis in the Goldeneye level is called the statue, but it's at that area that they're at. And I love Bond's face. He's in such bewilderment. He's like, how is this possible? And I love that Trevelyan is so fucking petty that he always brings up that Bond turned the timer down. Like, he's like, the same 3 minutes you gave me, and all this shit. And, like, he just keeps talking about how you picked the mission over me. Trevelyan is so petty. And I love that Bond tries to bring him down by just calling him a common thief. And that just goes right through him. He gets so pissed at being called common.
Not to mention there's the double whammy of not only is he Yanis, but he's alive. And Bond's been, like, mourning him for 9 years.
Yeah. And I like Trevelyan as a villain. I think, and plus it's fucking Sean Bean. Like,
having one of the most elaborate Sean Bean deaths on screen.
Which is funny because you think he's dead for most of the movies. Technically, Sean Bean dies twice. Like, that's the way to...
3 times. There's the shot from Ormov, there's the fall, then there's the crush.
Yeah, like, that's the way Sean Bean should go. But I like Trevelyan. I think Trevelyan makes the story very meaty and gives Bond more of a... Like, he didn't need a purpose to go on, but it gives him one to go on with such fire.
There's a line that I love that I'll mention later.
Okay.
Are you done with Trevelyan?
Yeah.
My number 3 is Kananga. There's not... The thing about Kananga, I think, is that he seems so in control of his plan and just really, like, basks in what he does. He, like, really basks in his evil. And there's, like, this really... The thing about Kananga that's interesting is we don't see it often, but there are moments. He's got this anger inside him when he confronts Bond the first time.
He's a mean streak.
And when he's got like the mask and
he acts out his mean streak through Mr. Big so his Kananga persona can stay composed.
Is there any truth? I had heard that the big dude at the table in Casino Royale is supposed to be Mr. Big. Is that true?
I don't know.
That's interesting. And the guy that's like he's supposed to be the valet for is Goldfinger. It's just a throwaway little reference.
Really? I didn't know that. Huh.
Where he like takes the car and then he just crashes it and goes back into the building.
Oh.
He's wearing like Goldfinger's like golf outfit, and I think the car is gold.
Oh.
I think I don't remember for sure, but
I'll have to watch again.
But the thing also about Kananga is that like I said, we make fun of the fact that he put him on the thing, he cut his arm, he let the sharks come out, he's going to slowly lower him. I don't think that's Kananga being an idiot. I think Kananga just really basks in watching people die.
He enjoys
like he wanted evil. He wanted to drag it out because he didn't want it to be over so fast.
Yeah.
Because he was enjoying every second of it. And like I said, just the fact that he's this, I mean, obviously he's got these big plans, and he's the one that comes up with the idea, let's have Baron Samedi just scare the shit out of people. That's how we'll keep things in check. That was his idea.
He surrounds himself with such an interesting group of people that all do his bidding. Like, he has Baron Samedi to scare them, and then he has Teehee to act on it. He's
got Whisper. Whisper killed a dude.
Yeah.
Whisper seems useless, but he killed a dude.
You said that in the same vein as Brick killed a guy. But yeah, I agree with that choice. That's a good choice.
Was there anything else I was going to say? Yeah, just the whole idea that he takes on another persona to keep it up. He's just a really good villain. He's really smart the way he plays his game.
And he's politically connected.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
Yeah, he's at the fucking thing at the beginning.
He's a member of the United Nations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, he goes deep.
He does. My number 2 is not very exciting. It's Blofeld. He's the quintessential Bond villain. He's what you think of. The cat, the scar, all of it. And the fact that he just wants to take on the world. And I love the fact that we get him in 3 straight movies because it gives him this air of persistence of, well, this didn't work, so I'll try this. Well, shit, that didn't work, so I'll try this. And then he goes in Diamonds Are Forever and decides, well, one of me can't do this, maybe 3 of me can do this, or maybe 2 of me can do this. And
it's also cool where You Only Live Twice meets in the middle, because obviously through From Russia with Love, Goldfinger, Thunderball, I just cheated by looking here. He's shrouded in mystery, and then in You Only Live Twice, he's also shrouded in mystery up until the reveal. Yeah, and it's this nice, coherent thing with him.
My only drawback with Blofeld is I feel like his portrayal is very inconsistent. Yeah. Because when you look at how he was in, like, Thunderball, for example, or From Russia with Love, I get more the Telly Savalas Blofeld vibe from that.
But even in Arm Master Secret Service, Irma Bunn comes off more like the hard-ass one.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
But he does have that mastermind quality, though.
Yeah, he does. And he runs the whole show, and... Spectre. God, why do you do this to me? Which really sucks, because Spectre, once again, had a good idea. Waltz's Blofeld's fun.
I love that.
And then you throw it out.
I love that as soon as Inglourious Basterds came out, everybody was like, Christoph Waltz needs to play a Bond villain, needs to play a Bond villain. Every time a new movie came out, Christoph Waltz needs to play a Bond villain. And when he finally gets the chance, it's fucking Blofeld.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wish they had done... I wish they had taken a different route with Blofeld in that movie.
Well, the thing is, though, is I was praising Donald Pleasance here, but Waltz probably has my favorite Blofeld moment. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Go for it.
After Batista killed the dude, and everybody's hiding out. It's like the Eyes Wide Shut party. And then it's like, he's just like, so, James, and just turns directly to him.
Oh, yeah, where he knows he's there. Yeah, that is a good moment. That's another one of those cases where, like, Spectre pisses you off because you see that, and you're like, oh, that's awesome. And then by the end of the movie, you're like, Blofeld's lame.
We don't even see Waltz for like an hour and a half after that. Uh-huh. He doesn't come back till the end, and they just blow his ass up.
And Daniel Craig has what you and I like to call a shit's pants moment. Like...
And then here's the thing, and it's like, oh my god, how do I stop Blofeld? Oh my god, he's doing all this stuff. Oh my god, we've been building up to Waltz for 2.5 hours. I'll throw my watch at him.
Yeah, like, it's... That is one of the cooler Blofeld moments. But yeah, Blofeld's number 2 because he is the quintessential Bond villain, even though I feel like his portrayal's very inconsistent. There's times where I think his plots are kind of silly. But I think the idea of You Only Live Twice is really good. The only problem is I feel like the You Only Live Twice idea got used again in Octopussy and then got used again in Tomorrow Never Dies, where it's pitting 2 countries against each other through an outside source.
Speaking of what Blofeld was doing in You Only Live Twice, there's somebody else who I always really liked that kind of falls in between the girl and the henchman. I always liked Helga Brandt a lot. She's barely there, but I feel like she's once again, she's right in that middle ground. And if I may say this, and it sucks to say this because she's recently deceased, I mean, Helga Brandt was hot as hell.
She was what you wanted in a femme fatale.
And then she has the memorable death with the piranha.
Yeah. So
he just presses a button and just...
See ya. But yeah, Blofeld's number 2.
My 2's Trevelyan, if you want to get back
on that.
Basically everything we said before, but the one line that I wish I could remember the exact context in the lead-in. I've only got a paraphrase of it in my head. Many times as I've seen that damn movie, I can only get a paraphrase of this line. It's when Bond's talking about like all the lives he's cost or something, and all the lives he's taken or whatever. And his is something along the lines of like, how many vodka martinis does it take to silence the screams of the men you've killed? Yeah. Like, I can't remember the exact line, but it's something.
It's
like
close
that.
To that.
And I love that. It's like they're just taking so many shots at each other because they know each other so well, and he knows like all of MI6's ins and outs and all that. So he knows like what. It's one of the
few villains that Bond has a prior relationship with. And it makes the story more personal.
It's not a Bond girl.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like Andrew Rebellion is the closest person that's been to being a villain and a Bond girl without being.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
What if we have the same number one?
Who do you have for number one? I have Silva.
I too have Raul Silva.
He kills fucking M. Like, that's...
Not only that, it's his fucking life's mission.
Yeah.
And unlike every other Bond villain, he succeeds.
Yeah.
He succeeds in his mission. He doesn't... I don't think it matters to him that he died. It was his plan to die with the gun thing.
Yeah.
Not that way, but everything he wanted to happen happened.
He won.
Yeah.
He won. And, like... And I feel like the middle of Spectre, yes, it's a complete fucking take from The Dark Knight. But I like Silva because...
Well, it's not just The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight did it. Iron Man 2 did it. A year later, Star Trek Into Darkness did it.
You're running through the list of who did it, like Catwoman did in Batman Returns of Who Killed Her. The Penguin killed me. Batman killed me.
The Avengers did it with Loki.
Yeah, that's true.
It was really popular.
It was a popular idea. I like that it worked with Silva, too, because it was, with Silva, kind of like with Trevelyan, it was personal.
Mm-hmm.
It was very personal. And I love that, like you said, he succeeds. The opening scene with Silva on that island is great.
That's the thing, is that one shot, when he comes, we have to watch him come all the way from the... It's this big, giant... Even Bond says at the end, like, he loves an entrance. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's like the ultimate Bond villain thing, is to love having an entrance.
And as dumb as it is... This is the one thing I didn't like about Skyfall, is the fact that Bond got a pass. But he attacked Bond at his house! Like, who does that?
Playing fucking rock music on speakers, flying in on a helicopter.
Yeah.
And then there's the thing, talking about the scene when he does the big walk up the thing. Mm-hmm. What I love about this monologue is not only is he saying, you know, like, M fucked up, we're gonna fuck her up back. Mm-hmm. He tears down everything Bond stands for.
Yeah, he sends MI6 into fucking tunnels, like in hiding, like, and we're not talking like when the world's not enough blew up MI6. No, we're talking about like shit got fucked up because not only did he blow up the building, he sold out everyone that worked there. Like, imagine how much death what he did caused.
And the great thing about this, the thing that honestly just puts it over the top for me, even though it's really brief, and it may be a bit odd, but I mean, still, the fact that he's a Bond villain, and you could say, like, inside he's a monster. I love, like, the little things he does, like the things to taunt M after he blows somebody up. The kid says, like, you know your sins, or whatever that shit is. But the thing is, like, you could say, this guy's a monster. But the thing is, like, because of MI6, all this guy has to do is pull out a mouth thing, and he fucking looks like a monster. Like, physically. Looks like a monster.
Yeah.
And he says it's MI6's fault. It's M's fault specifically.
Yeah.
And the whole fucking look what you fucking did thing.
Yeah. And there's not many... Electra King went after M personally, but that was a little bit different. That was, you knew my dad, so I could get you to do what I wanted. No, Silva's like, I'm going to fucking end you.
And it was also so personal.
And then he ended her. Not
just from a villain perspective, but like... The fact that the thing we see in the Brosnan movies and forward, and mostly in the Craig movies, that they see him as a mother figure, and so that's what Silva feels even more betrayed because of that, because he, I assume, saw her that way before shit went bad. And
there's one other thing that I have to say that Silva did that's a crime. Silva made Ralph Fiennes M, so we can't get Ralph Fiennes as a Bond villain. Silva!
And I also love how he has some human moments in there, too, like when, he doesn't seem totally unstoppable, and there's, like, one moment that tells me this, but it means the world anyway. It's the moment when, and obviously the whole story is that Bond has to come back. And, like, Bond's really rusty, and Silva's the one that's on the top. But there's one moment in this movie that switches those and brings us there all the way, and it's when they're sliding down the escalator. Bond does it flawlessly. It's Silva that faceplants.
Yeah. I also love that Silva's sexuality is kind of ambiguous.
And in turn, apparently makes Bond's too. That's something we've never heard before.
Yeah. It's an interesting little turn. But with Silva, it works, because if there's one character that's going to set Bond off of his ease of something that's so Bond, it's going to be Silva.
Have we forgotten shoot the glass off the girl's head game? It's like, I didn't say you had to shoot it off, it just had to fall off.
But I think Silva's a fantastic villain.
Oh, yes.
I think he's great.
Apparently we think he's the best, because we just said.
Yeah, that was unanimous.
Are we ready? How are we doing on time? We've got the last category. So...
45 minutes.
Alright. The 5 best Bond movies. Are you nervous?
Nah, there's not much to talk about with these two, because we've already hit on a lot of them.
Some that I want to mention, I mentioned before, The Spy Who Loved Me. I love how fucking cinematic it is. It takes from David Lean. Like, not only does it feel epic, but did you notice the references? Like, when they're walking through the desert, it plays the Lawrence of Arabia theme. On the music box, it plays the Dr. Zhivago music. It's like a whole ode to David Lean. And so I think that's awesome. I really wanted to put Live and Let Die on here, but it just falls short. Honestly, a movie that I thought had a solidified space here, until I really thought it through, just falling off, like it would be number 6 is Goldfinger.
Oh.
Yeah, Goldfinger didn't make it. I don't know, I guess the others just kind of, we also kind of went through this thing of like, if you want to talk like the objectively great ones or the ones that just mean more to us, is kind of what we went for. So I think that's how Goldfinger ended up falling just slightly off.
This is definitely a favorites list. We're in no way saying these are the best ones. These are just the ones that are our favorites.
Do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
I'll go first. Number 5, License to Kill. I love that it's a revenge movie.
Mine too.
I love that it's pretty much a straight revenge movie.
But what I really love too is that when we do this kind of stuff, like when we introduce a character and Bond suddenly has to feel, it's kind of like, well, this feels, artificial. But the thing is, it's like, they said, we're going to make a Bond vendetta movie, but it's like, they didn't just choose some fucking Yahoo. They didn't just make some random character, it's like, oh, no, this is somebody Bond's always liked, we just created them, though. No, they used fucking Leiter to make sure there was a past.
Yeah. I also like, too, with License to Kill, that a lot of the times that Bond's undercover, like, you worry, like, he might get caught, this might happen. But with License to Kill, the dread feels real because Sanchez is a drug dealer. Like, he's not about the elaborate plots. Like, drug dealers just fucking kill people on the spot. Look at Crest. Look at Leiter. Like...
Oh, God, Crest.
Yeah, like, look at that.
Poor Sharky. Poor Sharky.
Yeah.
That sucked.
Yeah.
But then there's also...
But he went on to yell at Arnold Schwarzenegger in Last Action Hero.
But it also feels like, just like I said, and this, I mean this in a good way, this would seem like it was a distraction, but the thing is, I was talking about, like, if you watch enough Bond movies, there starts to be a monotony. License to Kill totally breaks that monotony with this. It feels like an action movie.
Yeah, 15 to 20 minutes in, Bond has told M, fuck off. And M's like, fine, you can't kill anybody.
And Sanchez's escape scene, like, we've seen that kind of scene in so many movies since. Not many before, but since we've seen that escape scene a lot. And I feel like it comes back to this. That's the second movie we've
watched where he's escaped from prison. The other one's not quite as elaborate.
I don't have the handle!
Plus, I like Sanchez as a villain. Sanchez was kind of flirting around up there toward my top 5 villains. Just because he's ruthless, because he's a drug dealer. He's unlike any villain Bond's ever dealt with. Because Bond doesn't really do much with drugs.
The iguana's a nice touch, too.
Yeah. In that book, his pictures with his iguana. But, so your number 5 is License to Kill also?
Yeah, and like I said, really, I can't stress enough, just the whole thing about, see, here's the illustrated climax to License to Kill.
Look at Sanchez, he has a fucking machete. Like, it's awesome. And I like the way Sanchez goes down. He just gets fucking lit on fire.
A lighter from Leiter.
Yeah.
Took him down.
Yeah. The pun just hit me in the face. My number 4 is Skyfall. I think Skyfall is brilliant. I think it's the best modern Bond movie, definitely of the Craigs. Except for one, which we'll get to later. But I don't consider it really a modern Bond movie now. But I like Skyfall's plot. I like that it's so personal. I love, like you said, it spends the first part of the movie just tearing down every institution Bond's ever known. We've got M on the run. We've got MI6s in shambles. We've got spies getting killed all over the world because Silva is fucking petty. Like, And he knows he's petty, and he doesn't mind it. And he's crazy at the same time. So I think Skyfall has good villain, good theme, as we talked about earlier, which sets the mood. The opening sequence is fucking baller.
Another thing that just seems to totally transcend the Bond formula in a really big way, where it's like, it's also basically becomes a giant revenge movie just from the villain's perspective.
Yeah, it is. My only downfall to Skyfall, the only reason that it's fallen further on the list, is I've never been a big fan of the fact of Bond having a past and being one person throughout the whole series. I've always been a fan of the fan theory that it's just different guys taking over an alias. And this movie kind of shot that in the foot.
But then again, the whole stance that Casino Royale takes leads us to believe maybe he's the first Bond. Maybe every Bond after him has changed. But then again, there's the whole Judi Dench's M and fucking Brosnan's movies. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
No sense whatsoever.
Yeah. But I love Skyfall. I really enjoy. I remember when I watched it in the theater, I was blown away. I was there. I was like, this is so good. This is so good. So yeah, Skyfall's number 4 for me. Excuse me.
My number 4 is Octopussy.
Oh, I was a fan of yours growing up.
Yeah.
Or you were a fan of that growing up.
Yeah, it was really one of my favorites growing up, and it's still kind of to this day, because the way it starts off also, you talk about kind of taking down the Bond formula. One of the things you really don't expect to see, it would be at the top of the list of the things you didn't expect to see when you walk into a Bond movie, is an opening where a clown is being chased. For an egg, no less. But as we were talking about, there's just so much going on, but in a good way. Not like in the bad Thunderball way, but in like a good way. There's so much going on here. Because we got... it feels like it's constant action. And the action just gets bigger and bigger. And there's the whole thing where we were talking about the illustrations in this book, where they illustrate the climaxes. The scene that they illustrate in this is the train scene. And the thing is any other movie, that train scene would be the climax. Oh, but no. We have not fought on top of a plane that's in midair yet. Good God. And the chase scene with like VJ, it just feels like non-stop. Obviously, we got a great Bond girl.
VJ's end.
Yeah, the fucking blade yo-yo thing. That thing, just looking at it freaks me out. And then the sound of it, yeah. Good God. And then it's like the whole, like I said, we got a great Bond girl in Octopussy, one that takes charge, one that just feels very crucial to the plot. Got a great villain with Kamal Khan. Awesome fucking henchman with Gobenda and the Mishka and Grishka are their names?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dudes from the circus.
Yeah, they're just circus dudes. It's like Batman Returns before Batman Returns. The circus has gone insane and is gonna fucking kill you. This is awesome. I mean, seeing Bond dressed as a clown, and yeah.
Especially that it's Moore's Bond.
It's like only Moore's Bond would do that. Okay, there is one moment. Obviously. As I was talking about with David Lean, more movies are all about their references. David Lean references, though, are awesome. Obviously, in Octopus, we got the scene where he swings from a vine and we hear the Tarzan yell. I feel a piece of me die every time that happens. I feel like I get an inch closer to death whenever that Tarzan yell happens.
Which one was that again?
What?
Which one was that again, the Tarzan yell?
When he's swinging on the vine in Octopus? You don't remember that?
I do now. I remember it happening, but I couldn't remember what movie it was.
I apologize for bringing the memory back. But I mean, that's small potatoes when you look at just how awesome this movie is, and how non-stop action it is. Once again, for a movie of this era, too, when like Bond was going to be like all silly and shit, and we're still in the 80s, and he's aging. But it's like he really was filling into the role at this point. And yeah, it's just awesome to see a movie so action-packed. Mm-hmm. I was always afraid to say how much I loved it as a kid because I figured people would just think I was saying that because I wanted to say the title because I was a kid. But no, the movie really is awesome. So, yes.
Okay. My number 3 is Goldfinger. Goldfinger is kind of what set the mark, I feel like. Goldfinger has Oddjob, who's probably one of the most efficient henchmen ever. There we go. It's the introduction of the first Bond vehicle with the DB5, which is great.
Like almost everything that's iconic about Bond, we first see in Goldfinger.
Yeah, I like Goldfinger's demise. He gets sucked out of a fucking airplane,
which they foreshadow in the Pussy Galore scene, right?
Yeah.
He's like, don't shoot me, the bullet will go through me, and then we'll all get sucked out of here.
Yeah.
And you don't expect to see that fucking happen when he says that.
Yeah. I like the climax at Fort Knox. One scene that I really like in Goldfinger too is when he's playing the cards in Miami.
The opening?
And Bond takes over and screws him. I think that's really cool, and I think it sets the movie off. The golf scene, of course, is...
I think that also speaks to Jill's character. Mm-hmm. When you think oh well, she turned on him real quick, but then it's like she's been waiting for the moment for somebody like Bond to come through the door and fuck Goldfinger over.
Yeah. The golf scene, of course, is classic. There's just so many classic things about Goldfinger. Like when you pop Goldfinger in, there's a scene on the table with the laser. Like when you pop in Goldfinger, it's just scene after scene after scene of things that movies have done for years since, and it's just, I don't know. And then you have the theme. I just think Goldfinger to me is it may not go down as one of the greatest movies of all time, but I'd say it has to go down as one of the most iconic. And I think every scene that passes, you can tie it to something you see in a later movie or a reason that you know who James Bond is.
I think I covered it mostly when I can't remember at all what I said in that verse a few years ago, but I'm sure I said something similar, even though it didn't quite make my list. My number 3 is From Russia with Love. I feel once again I felt like it would have been higher, but I think the gypsy stuff with Corinne Bay kind of it just stops. It feels like the movie hits the brakes a little bit, but that's obviously before it gets awesome. But there's also some great stuff before that.
I'll talk about this with you because From Russia with Love is my number 2.
All right. So I do like we were saying that Klebb kind of falls short when it comes to also being in it with Red Grant. But
the Joker did steal her shoe though.
Yeah, that was intentional. I did read that. Mm-hmm. But the thing here also is that she still sets herself up to be a pretty hardcore villain. Like I said, she's the one that hires Grant, does the brass knuckles thing. When she hires Rono to do all that stuff, she becomes off very threatening. Mm-hmm. But then there's also...
She talks herself out of being killed with that chess guy.
Yes, and the thing about that, what I was telling you was, everybody talks about Red Grant and stuff like that. Somebody that's not talked about enough that's in From Russia with Love is fucking Kronstein.
I love that you remember his name.
Because the thing is, obviously, I already love the cold open, I already said that. But with Kronstein, you have this opening, he's the first one we meet, and what happens here is he's in this really prestigious chess tournament, and it's this really big deal, and it's a really giant thing. And then it's he gets a message, and it's Blofeld needs to see you. It's okay, ends game immediately. He could have done that anytime. He's that good. He's that well done. And people don't seem to notice enough. We've got Rosa Klebb in this, we've got Morzenim, we've got Red Grant. Kronstein's the mastermind. Mm-hmm. Kronstein's the one that came up with this whole damn plan. Mm-hmm. And we only see him at the very beginning and then at the very end when he's just off like nothing. And so I really love that character, he's so memorable and he only has those 2 scenes. Mm-hmm. And he's behind it all. So I love little additions like that for characters they don't feel the need to dwell on too much.
Do you think Blofeld's plots got silly because he killed Kronstein?
That totally could be, because he has nothing to do with Goldfinger, I don't think.
No. Goldfinger's weird like that. It takes a step completely away from Spectre.
Yeah. So, and also another
I just realized, every movie but Goldfinger, Connery fights Spectre.
Yeah. Huh. And then there's the whole thing, we already said all this before, but I mean, the train sequence in From Russia with Love, which, by the way, it's the entire second half of the movie. Mm-hmm. It's some of the best stuff in movie history, not just Bond history. Mm-hmm. And then just to top it off, just one more thing.
Guess what scene's illustrated in that book? The train.
And then we've got the stuff on the boats with Morzenik, we gotta take him out. Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool, too. Nice and brief, it doesn't drag it out too much. Mm-hmm. And then just one more cap off with the Klebb thing. It's he's just being bombarded with bad guys after a while, and really makes up for that portion in the middle where I feel like it kind of slows down a little bit. Yeah. Just before we get on the train.
It really feels like the way From Russia with Love goes after Bond. It really feels like they're trying to make Bond pay a price for taking out Dr. No. Yeah.
So that's me on From Russia with Love. Do you want to continue?
I said my number 2 is From Russia with Love.
Yeah, did you have anything else to add?
Oh, I've talked about it a lot. I think Red Grant's the best henchman. Rosa Klepp's great. Kronstein's good. There's a lot of good things about From Russia with Love. Like you said, it does drag a little bit in the gypsy scene. But at the same time, I love Bond's reaction that these two women are going to fight over a man, over a fist fight. And I just love that he's like, what planet am I on? Like, where did this come from?
And like I said, it does make up for it that this is all, the whole gypsy thing is punctuated by the billboard scene. Where we see Corinne Bay say, like, you don't give me that rifle, I'm gonna fucking kill this dude.
Yeah, I got this covered, just give me the gun and go away.
So, yeah. So we're doing my number 2 now.
Yeah.
GoldenEye.
Oh.
So, as I had said, just like I said, the whole beginning we talked about. This is all stuff I was going to actually talk about when we got to this point, so it's already done now. The whole camaraderie with Trevelyan, and then the whole having a villain that's just that much into it, and then all these memorable villains, like even the villains that just go off and be nothing, like Ormov after a while. Just just all these different colorful characters show up in this thing.
Ironically enough, the one thing that GoldenEye has that's very forgetful is the lead Bond girl, Natalia. She's just kind of there.
Yeah.
She's an example of got roped in.
Yeah, basically like she is in the game. Our job is to just protect her.
Yeah.
It becomes a major pain in the ass. But then there's also, well, no, she changed the access codes, as Boris tells us.
Oh.
She did something.
Okay.
And she knows how to fuck with Boris, and that's important.
Yeah, that's true. She does know how to get under Boris' skin.
But then there's also, honestly, something I'd like to point out.
But if Boris wasn't in it, she'd be useless.
But Boris is very important, though.
That's true, he is.
But the thing about it, too, is something kind of technical that GoldenEye does that I really like that the other Bond movies don't do is the Eric Serra score. He's the guy that did a lot of the scores for Luc Besson's movies. I swear the score in GoldenEye and Leon is the same score.
Oh.
And it feels really unique to GoldenEye, that score. Because everything else feels very generic, kind of action-y or generic Bondy or whatever. That score is its own thing.
Yeah.
And that's weird. I kind of like that he only did the score for that one movie because it just kind of stands out and makes GoldenEye unique in the way it sounds with its music. And then there's just, like I said, just the way they find the middle ground where GoldenEye feels classic but also updated.
Yeah.
And
GoldenEye I feel like it was the perfect movie to reboot to make sure this was still going to work.
Yeah. And yeah, obviously the action's great. And it's one of those cases also where like the way the characters interact, it can be just as awesome and intense as the action scenes themselves. Like I said, just how personal the final fight feels, which are not just how personal the final fight feels, but good God, the final fight takes place on a platform that's like this big with a drop that's like this big. That's intense.
GoldenEye's my number 1. I love it. I think it has high rewatchability. A lot of it's probably nostalgia because it is the first one we were introduced to and grew up on. But I also like GoldenEye because I think GoldenEye is a great story that is ridiculously easy to follow.
Yeah.
I think it's very, very easy to follow. It's very easy to see everyone's motivations.
Which in like you might say we're being spoon-fed or whatever. In Bond movies, that matters, being able to follow what's going on. Because sometimes they try to get way too complex.
There's a couple, when I was going back on rewatch, there was a couple of movies I checked out on because I was like, okay, there's just too much going on.
Thunderball.
Yeah, you could fit it in there, sure. But yeah, GoldenEye's my number 1. It's my favorite of the Bond movies. It's one of those movies that I rewatch frequently. It's the one I rewatch the most. I just enjoy it. I love Brosnan's outing as Bond. I love the ridiculousness of Xenia. I love how Oromov plays such a major part in the beginning, and then by the end...
He's a red herring.
Yeah, he is. He's a red herring. I love like the devastation that the GoldenEye satellite costs. I love Judi Dench's M. I think she's a good M in that movie.
She calls him out, finally.
Yeah.
After all the shit the Bond girls have gone through.
Yeah.
And I like that it played up that wasn't like... And not to get like all into that, but I mean like just in general... that the older Bond movies would try to play that up like that's why Bond was cool. And M comes in to say that shit is not what made Bond cool.
This is 1995. Get your shit out of here. Imagine if M did this in 2018. Also like Valentine. I think Valentine's a lot of fun.
My leg aches. every single day. He's another great ally we didn't mention.
Yeah, he's a good one.
I also
Jack Wade's annoying but fun.
I also love the line of Walther PPK. 3 men I know use this gun. I've killed 2 of them.
Yeah, and I love that he talks about how he has helicopters and Bond's like none that fly. Like he builds up to be this like gangster that has all this information, and then you get there, and he's kind of worthless.
I love how he didn't even defend himself. He's like, I know they don't fly.
He has this criminal empire that's just kind of half-assing it. Like he has a nightclub singer that's his girlfriend, but she's terrible. Like
Eddie Driver.
Yeah.
Who's strangling the cat.
Like, Valentine's a character that I wouldn't have minded seeing more from.
I love
We get some in The World Is Not Enough, but it doesn't feel as fun as GoldenEye. Because GoldenEye is just Bond tearing him down.
I love that Who's Strangling the Cat didn't just result in a gun getting pulled out. It resulted in the gun getting pulled out and going off.
Yeah. And I love that he's not sure what he's talking about first. He's like, strangling. But yeah, I think GoldenEye has a lot of fun characters. I think it's a good story that's easy to follow. I think GoldenEye is a very good movie for a Bond beginner.
Yeah. Like we were when we saw it.
Yeah.
We got it from Blockbuster. Because we were like, "What? Oh, this!" That blew my mind when we were playing GoldenEye over and over and over again. You're like, "By the way, this is a movie." It's like, "Are you serious?"
And that kind of launched everything.
All right, my favorite Bond movie. Are you ready for the ultimate irony?
Oh God! Is it Thunderball?
God, no.
All right.
I've done all this shit talking about a certain Bond. Yeah. Went back, I thought it over. I had to really think this over, too. And then, watching them again and all that. And it's weird to say, because, we have so much history going all the way back to 1962. And you would think when all this time, the time would be a factor, and it wouldn't be something relatively new. Yeah. Upon all this revisiting, my favorite Bond movie is Skyfall. My favorite Bond movie is a movie where fucking Daniel Craig played him. What are the fucking odds?
I thought Skyfall was already on your list.
Nope. It was License to Kill, Octopussy, From Russia with Love, GoldenEye.
Oh, okay.
And now Skyfall.
Okay.
And, what's to really say that we haven't said already? They have put just enough... There's so much... Well, for starters, the thing I didn't like about Skyfall for a while was I felt like... Because I loved Silva so much. I just lived for those Silva scenes. I thought it took too long to get to them. It's like an hour and 10 minutes before we get to Silva. And I thought we were just killing time until then. But the more I really got to, number one, what Deakins is doing here. With the way it's shot, where you've got, the whole Shanghai thing, and then you've got when he fights Patrice, and it's, the giant jellyfish thing, and it's, there's silhouettes on it, like it's fucking Kill Bill or something. It's, there is so much to love about this all the way through. The opening, I underrated the opening for a while, but yeah, the opening is, as we said, amazing.
It's awesome.
And it feels like it's 2.5 hours, and so is Spectre. Spectre feels like it goes on for fucking ever. Every time I watch Spectre, even though I know how it goes, I know where the story goes, I know how it ends, every time I watch Spectre, I convince myself it doesn't have an end. I just convince myself it's never going to stop. Ever. Skyfall is constant for 2.5 hours in so many different ways, whether it be the action, whether it be trying to watch Bond come back, whether it be Silva's whole story. Like I said, the way it's shot, the action scenes and all that, just the background shit. Everything just looks amazing. And then you just have this really awesome yet straightforward story, which once again is just kind of a vengeance movie. But Silva's such a great villain. Bardem plays him to perfection. And just his appearance in general just really sticks out. And the relationship with M and how, we talk about how, emotionless his Bond is, despite the fact that he's a fucking crybaby every time he meets a girl. There's something genuinely emotional about it. And M's death was legitimately sad. Mm-hmm. The last time I watched Skyfall, I could feel something in here, watching M die. And it was and that, the finale is enormous. That's when Skyfall explodes is, massive. And then the fact that it's not over from there, when we got them stalking through the field to the church. This ends in a fucking church, man! And it just keeps building and building and building until it's just all the way through. And the way we're bringing Bond full circle, the Aston Martin comes back, we've got a new Moneypenny, we've got a new M, and it just really... New Q, Ben Whishaw playing Q now. Mm-hmm. It just brings it all right back in just this massive, massive way. And to think it was like, okay, this is the setup. This is Thunderball all over again. It's like, ooh, From Russia with Love, Goldfinger. Oh, Thunderball's going to be amazing. It's not. So it's like, you got Skyfall, and it's like, yes, we finally have something. Quantum of Solace is such a distant memory after Skyfall. And then,
I'm not going to lie, I remember nothing about Quantum of Solace. I couldn't even tell you what the plot is.
You know what? I kind of like, it was Dominic Green and his environmental stuff. We got some of the we got Mathis from Casino Royale getting a comeuppance, even though he's good, bad, whatever the fuck. But no, Skyfall then just completely was like, okay, we're rebooting this shit for real now. This is a reboot. And then Spectre, you know, like we said, Spectre has some greatness in there. But
it's maddening how much greatness is hiding in there.
But it feels like Skyfall just brought everything full circle into a massive, massive thing, and yes.
Skyfall felt like a big deal.
Yeah. And just some of the stuff, there's one of the scenes I love is just anytime he and Scylla talk to each other. And it's like when they're in like the thing, and he's like, not bad, James, we're a physical wreck. And then he blows him up, and it's like, you know, oh, you didn't count on the fucking train. It's called radio.
And I know how you feel about Craig, but it's also one of those situations where I don't see anybody else's Bond in Skyfall.
And he does have some actual moments of personality. I like the scene when he's trying to get through the door and the train's coming, and Q's trying to get him through, and he's like, oh god, he's gonna die. Mm-hmm. And then they gotta have that sarcastic back and forth, and Q's like, oh, I knew he was gonna make it. So that's where I stand. The last thing I wanted to mention was some Oscar success that we had. Not a whole lot. Goldfinger got a sound win, Thunderball got a visual effects win, Diamonds Are Forever got a sound nomination, Live and Let Die got a song nomination. Live and Let Die was the first song nomination, weirdly enough.
Live and Let Die is probably one of my honorable mention themes. I mean, it's been redone. I mean, it's that iconic.
Yeah, and it's one of those songs also that just plays by itself. Sometimes I forget to associate the movie with it. It's so popular now.
Yeah.
Spy Who Loved Me got a handful. It got production design, song, and score nominations. Moonraker got a visual effects nom. We talked about it's at least good in that department. Mm-hmm. For Your Eyes Only got a song nom, and then Not Till Skyfall was the next one. Skyfall obviously won song, but also it tied in sound editing with Zero Dark 30. When Mark Wahlberg was announcing, he's like, no BS, we actually have a tie. But it also got in for obviously Deacons of Cinematography, score, and sound mixing. Thomas Newman's score, who's also the composers, I think, are more well known than the directors anymore. Obviously Sam Mendes, but still. And then in a weird twist of fate, the Sam Smith song from Spectre won, beating out Lady Gaga, which still baffles people. And for what it's worth, the 1967's Casino Royale got a song nomination as well. And yes, since it's the only Bond movie we haven't brought up yet, I don't think even though we've been bashing it this whole time, let's just say it. Thunderball is so unsatisfactory, Sean Connery himself came back to fucking remake. And try again.
Yeah.
With Max von Sydow playing Blofeld, the guy from Out of Africa playing Largo, bass singer. Bass singer was what, Domino?
Yeah.
So, yes, is there anything that we have not talked about?
No, I think we've hit everything. I mean, these are movies that we grew up with, all starting with GoldenEye. It all started with the N64 game.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of grew from there, and I don't see this being a series that's going to slow down anytime soon. They're talking about, I think the next one comes out, 2019? That's
what they're trying for. There's this Willy Won't-y situation with Danny Boyle right now. That'd be cool.
I know Daniel Craig it's been mentioned that he's been on the fence.
Yeah, but then they did that whole, we'll give you $150 million for 2 movies thing. I think he finally said yes to that when he confirmed it. There was a whole thing where Waltz said he would only come back to play Blofeld again if it was Craig, but now that Craig is coming back, I've heard that Waltz seem to want to, but I guess we'll see what happens.
Probably because Walt's watched the movie and he was like, "Fuck this."
He deserves another shot. Like, we need to give him another go at Blofeld.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So is that what we got?
I think that's all we got.
Then I guess we can wrap this up. Next week, this is going to be coming out. You're actually seeing this, like, we're doing this a week before this is going to come out. So the next week after this, I think, is when A Quiet Place comes out. So it'll be that. I have no idea what the verse is going to be, but I will figure that out in time. But in the meantime, this is your verse. Say that. I guess it's every man for himself kind of thing.
It's like a Royal Rumble.
Yeah, that's it. So yes, I guess that's what we've got. So until whatever, that's it.